Welcome to Holistic Healing, integrating mind, body, and spirit, brought to you by Mindful Literary. In this transformative audiobook, we embark on a profound journey to explore the interconnectedness of mind, body, and spirit. Through a comprehensive approach that blends ancient wisdom with modern insights, we'll delve into the practices and philosophies that foster true holistic wellness. In today's fast-paced world, finding balance and inner peace can seem elusive. This audiobook is your guide to awakening the potential within you, nurturing your physical health, and deepening your spiritual connection. We'll explore the power of self-awareness, the benefits of mindful eating, the healing energy of nature, and much more. Each chapter is designed to provide you with practical tools and deep insights to help you live a life of harmony, vitality, and fulfillment. Prepare to discover the power of positive thinking, the impact of stress on the body, and the transformative effects of mindfulness and meditation. We'll journey through the natural world, explore energy healing, and uncover the secrets to emotional resilience and inner peace. Whether you're seeking to alleviate pain, reduce stress, or deepen your spiritual practice, Holistic Healing, integrating mind, body, and spirit, offers a wealth of knowledge to support your path. Let's begin this journey together, embracing the beauty and wonder of life through holistic healing. Chapter 1: Awakening the Mind, Body, and Spirit. Discovering the Power of Self-Awareness. It was a gray, unremarkable Tuesday morning when I first realized that something profound was missing from my life. Up until that point, I had been coasting on autopilot, moving through the days without much thought or intention. My mind was a cluttered attic, filled with a jumble of emotions, assumptions, and reactions. I didn't understand how crucial it was to sift through the mess and uncover what truly lay beneath. The initial spark of self-awareness was ignited during a routine therapy session. As my therapist gently nudged me to delve deeper into my recurring anxiety, I began to notice patterns in my thoughts and behaviors. This wasn't an instant revelation. Rather, it was a slow and sometimes uncomfortable peeling back of layers. It was like standing in front of a mirror for the first time and actually seeing my reflection, blemishes and all. I started to pay attention to the undercurrents of my daily life. Why did I always feel a surge of anger when someone cut me off in traffic? Why did I recoil at the thought of attending social gatherings, yet feel lonely when I stayed home? These questions became my constant companions, guiding me to explore the origins of my feelings and reactions. It was through this exploration that I began to understand the weight of my unexamined thoughts and how they shaped my reality. I remember one particularly powerful moment while journaling. I had been struggling with a sense of inadequacy at work, convinced that my colleagues were more competent and successful. As I scribbled down my fears and insecurities, a realization hit me like a freight train. Much of my self-doubt stemmed from a perfectionist mindset ingrained in me since childhood. This awareness shattered the illusion that my worth was tied to flawless performance. Embracing self-awareness was not just about identifying the negative, it also meant celebrating the positive aspects of myself that I had overlooked. I began to notice my resilience in the face of challenges, my capacity for empathy, and my creativity that had been stifled by self-criticism. In recognizing these strengths, I felt a sense of empowerment that was previously foreign to me. The journey of self-awareness was far from linear. There were days when the mirror reflected shadows I wasn't ready to confront. But with each step, I learned to be gentle with myself, to approach my inner world with curiosity rather than judgment. This shift in perspective was transformative. It allowed me to heal parts of myself that had been fractured and to move forward with a clearer sense of who I was. As I continued this journey, I began to see the ripple effects in my outer world. My relationships improved as I communicated more authentically and listened with a deeper understanding. My career flourished as I aligned my goals with my newfound sense of purpose. The path of self-awareness was not always easy, but it laid a solid foundation for meaningful change and holistic healing. Now, as I reflect on the winding road that brought me here, I am filled with profound gratitude. The transformative power of self-awareness has not only changed my life, but has also opened my eyes to the interconnectedness of thoughts, emotions, and actions. It is a journey I continue to walk, knowing that each step brings me closer to a more authentic and fulfilled existence. And as I share these experiences, I hope to inspire others to embark on their own path of self-discovery. For it is in understanding ourselves that we truly begin to heal. However, just when I thought I had reached a plateau of understanding, life presented a new challenge. A sudden, unexpected event tested the very foundation of my self-awareness, pushing me to deeper levels of introspection and growth. It was in this crucial moment that I truly grasped the power and necessity of continual self-exploration. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a far more profound and transformative journey. Nourishing the body through mindful eating. When I first began my journey into mindful eating, it felt like venturing into uncharted territory. Up until that point, meals were hurried events, squeezed between work deadlines and social commitments. I ate because I had to, hardly pausing to consider how the food would impact my energy or well-being. My relationship with food was a transactional one. Eat to fuel, move on, repeat. Then came a day when I noticed the weariness in my body, a constant fatigue lurking behind my daily routine. This exhaustion was profound, unlike anything caffeine or a good night's sleep could shake off. I realized I was at a crossroads. Either keep trudging along this path of neglect or start paying attention to what my body was trying to tell me. And that's when I stumbled upon the concept of mindful eating. The idea is simple: eat with intention and presence. But implementing it, that's where the real work began. I started small, dedicating one meal a day to eat without distractions. I would sit in silence, observing the colors and textures of the food in front of me, taking in the aroma before the first bite. It was awkward at first. My mind wandered to emails, to-do lists, the latest news. But with practice, I found it easier to anchor myself in the present moment. One of the most transformative changes came when I began selecting my meals with greater intention. Rather than grabbing the first available option, I started choosing foods that I knew would nourish my body: fresh fruits, leafy greens, whole grains. It wasn't just about nutrition. It was about appreciating the journey of the food to my plate, recognizing the effort that went into producing each ingredient. The more I practiced mindful eating, the more I began to notice subtle shifts. My energy levels stabilized, no more mid-afternoon crashes that left me yearning for a nap. I slept more soundly, waking up refreshed rather than groggy. Even my mental clarity improved. Tasks that once seemed insurmountable became manageable, and my productivity soared. The sense of well-being extended beyond the physical. I felt a deeper connection to myself, as if I were finally listening to a part of me that had long been ignored. One evening, as I was preparing a simple meal of quinoa, roasted vegetables, and avocado, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Not just for the food itself, but for the act of nourishing my body with consideration and care. It was in that moment, standing alone in my kitchen, that I realized mindful eating was no longer a practice. It was a lifestyle that had profoundly enriched my life. Yet, the journey is far from over. Each day presents a new opportunity to eat with awareness, to choose foods that align with my body's needs, and to savor each bite with gratitude. It's a commitment to myself, a promise to honor and nourish the body that carries me through life. And in this ongoing journey, I continue to discover the boundless benefits of mindful eating, knowing that each intentional choice brings me closer to a life of sustained energy and well-being. Connecting with your inner spirit. It all began on a quiet morning during a restful retreat in the edge of a dense forest. The cacophony of the city was miles away, and in its place was a symphony of rustling leaves and birdsong. I had been feeling an unnamed emptiness, a sense of something missing, which had driven me to seek solitude. It was in this stillness that I first encountered my inner spirit. The first attempts at meditation were frustrating. My mind, accustomed to constant chaos, resisted surrendering to peace. Thoughts flitted in and out, each one clamoring for attention, but persistence paid off. As I continued, a profound shift began to occur. Instead of being hijacked by each thought, I learned to observe them as one might observe clouds in the sky, passing, ever-changing, but not defining the sky itself. Prayer became another gateway. For me, prayer was less about asking for things and more about opening a dialogue with the universe. Often, I would simply speak out loud in the stillness, expressing gratitude or asking open-ended questions about my purpose. The answers didn't come as thunderous revelations, but as subtle and often unexpected insights over time, like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle fitting together. Through introspection, I began to peel back the layers of my personality. Journaling became a favored tool. I wrote without censoring myself, letting thoughts and feelings spill onto the page. Patterns emerged, revealing the limiting beliefs and fears that had shadowed my decisions. Confronting these self-imposed barriers was painful yet liberating. The deeper I delved into these practices, the more I tapped into a wellspring of serenity within. I realized that this inner spirit was not something separate or mystical, but an integral part of me, an anchor amidst life's tempests. This journey revealed the vast potential for inner growth and resilience that lay dormant within. One transformative evening, while meditating by a quietly flowing stream, a profound peace enveloped me. It was as if all the fragmented parts of my being had aligned. In that moment, I felt a deep sense of belonging, not just to the world, but to myself. This unity with my inner spirit brought clarity to my purpose, guiding me to live more authentically and compassionately. My experiences are but a mere glimpse into the vast realm of connecting with one's inner spirit. Everyone's journey will be unique, shaped by their own beliefs, experiences, and practices. Yet the destination offers a universal gift, an enduring peace, and an unshakable sense of purpose. And it is this gift that makes every step of the journey worthwhile, promising the discovery of a more profound self beneath the surface of everyday life. Chapter 2: The Mind-Body Connection. Harnessing the power of positive thinking. I remember a particular summer day vividly. It was one of those days when everything seems to go wrong. I'd slept through my alarm, missed an important meeting, and spilled coffee on my favorite shirt, all before noon. Under any other circumstances, I would have felt the creeping tendrils of frustration take hold. But that day, something shifted inside me. Despite the chaotic start, I decided to challenge myself. What if I approached each mishap with an upbeat attitude? It felt almost absurd, like swimming against a strong current, but I took a deep breath and quietly resolved to stay positive. As I moved about my day, I noticed a surprising change. The missed meeting, well, it turned out to be something I could catch up on via email. The coffee stain seemed less significant as I remembered I had a backup shirt in my office. And those small moments of choosing to smile instead of frown built a curious momentum. I began to feel lighter, more in control. What struck me most was how people around me started responding. Colleagues offered assistance, strangers smiled back, and a particularly stressful project found unexpected resolutions. One moment in particular stands out. I was waiting at a crosswalk, feeling the press of the day's earlier frustrations still lurking in the back of my mind. A young kid next to me dropped an ice cream cone and looked devastated. Without thinking, I knelt down, offered a comforting word, and handed him a napkin from my bag. His face lit up, and in that instant, I realized the ripple effect of my choices. Choosing positivity wasn't just altering my experience, it was influencing the world around me. It was a subtle power, but profoundly real. Later that evening, I reflected on the day's events. The power of positive thinking wasn't just a motivational buzzword anymore. It was a tangible force. My mindset had acted like a tuning fork, setting the tone for everything and everyone I encountered. The concept of harnessing positivity still seemed almost magical, but there I was, a living example of its efficacy. I thought about how this could apply to more significant challenges, illnesses, professional setbacks, even relationships. I began incorporating these practices more consciously. During subsequent trials, I observed how a positive mindset could align resources, support systems, and unforeseen opportunities. Maintaining this attitude felt like keeping my bearings in the storm, guiding me to clearer skies. Sure, it wasn't a perfect solution, and there were days when negativity tried to claw its way back. But knowing I had this tool at my disposal made all the difference. The culminating moment was during a particularly trying period when a close friend faced a sudden health crisis. Instead of spiraling into worry, I revisited that summer day. I made a concerted effort to remain positive, supporting my friend with encouraging words and unwavering hope. Miraculously, or perhaps inevitably, my optimism became a cornerstone of her recovery process. We laughed together, visualized her healing, and cherished small victories. Her strength grew, and so did ours. As I share these stories, I invite you to explore this journey with me. Consider the possibilities that lie within a simple yet powerful shift in perspective. By harnessing the power of positive thinking, we can tap into a higher frequency of living that supports healing and growth in all areas of life. It's not merely about seeing the glass half full. It's about realizing you can refill it whenever necessary, and perhaps offer someone else a drink while you're at it. Exploring the impact of stress on the body. Stress, I've come to realize, is a persistent and sly companion. It finds ways to weave itself into the very fabric of our daily lives, often under the radar, until its effects become too blatant to ignore. I remember a period in my life where stress seemed to be the only constant, looming behind every task, every interaction, every moment of stillness. The pressures of work, family, and the relentless demands of modern life combined into a perfect storm that took a tangible toll on me. It wasn't just the mental exhaustion that wore me down. The physical manifestations of stress were just as, if not more, debilitating. The seemingly endless tension in my shoulders and neck, the headaches that felt like a vice around my temples, even the random bouts of insomnia, all signs my body was sounding an alarm I couldn't afford to ignore. What strikes me the most is how quick and unconscious these symptoms can be dismissed, yet they're telling a vital story about our inner turmoil. Seeking answers, I delved into scientific research, hoping to better understand what was happening inside me. I discovered that when stressed, our bodies release a flood of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These chemicals are our evolutionary defense mechanism, priming us for fight or flight. But in today's world, where threats are less about survival in the wild and more about meeting deadlines or juggling responsibilities, this response can create havoc. Cortisol, while helpful in small doses, can be detrimental when levels remain elevated. It affects critical systems, immune response, digestion, circadian rhythms, all thrown off balance. I noticed this in myself: frequent colds, digestive upset, and an ever-present sense of fatigue. It's sobering to understand that stress isn't just all in the head, but an experience felt deeply throughout one's entire physiological system. Some of the most compelling stories come from anecdotes I've gathered from friends and colleagues. One friend, an exceptionally driven professional, developed chronic hypertension, a condition his doctor traced back to prolonged stress. Another acquaintance, a working mother of 3, described how her hair started to thin alarmingly, a symptom her healthcare provider linked to stress-induced hormonal changes. In these conversations, a common thread emerged: the lack of awareness about stress management. We're often so engrossed in our hectic schedules that self-care seems like a luxury, not a necessity. But the reality is, managing stress is crucial for holistic health. Techniques like mindfulness, exercise, balanced nutrition, and adequate rest are not just platitudes echoed by wellness gurus. They are essential practices supported by science. In this journey, I've learned the importance of tuning into one's body, being vigilant about those subtle signals, the persistent muscle tension, the irregular sleep patterns, the moments of overwhelm can be life-saving. Addressing stress proactively is not just about easing discomfort in the moment. It's about safeguarding one's overall health and well-being. The body, incredibly resilient, still has its limits, and recognizing those limits is an act of wisdom. As I reflect on these experiences and insights, a clear narrative emerges. Stressful times are inevitable, but our response to stress is within our control. It's an ongoing challenge to balance our drive for achievement with the necessity of self-care. Each day offers a new opportunity to strive for that equilibrium, to listen to our bodies and respond with compassion and action. Practicing mindfulness and meditation. Life often felt like a relentless barrage of tasks, responsibilities, and emotional turbulence. It wasn't until I discovered mindfulness and meditation that I felt a genuine shift within me. Initially, the concept of sitting still and focusing on my breath seemed absurd. With a never-ending to-do list, how could I possibly afford to disconnect? But I learned that the very reason I needed to unplug was because of that list. because of the chaos threatening to engulf me. The first step was committing to a few minutes of stillness each day. I would sit in a quiet corner of my home, uncluttered by distractions. At first, my mind would race with thoughts. Did I reply to that email? What if I forget to pick up groceries? Slowly, though, with each session, those thoughts began to lose their grip. My breath became a comforting anchor in the stormy seas of my mind. It wasn't just about stillness, it was about awareness. I started noticing the subtle differences in my emotional landscape. For instance, a heated argument that might have left me simmering for hours was now diffused within minutes. I wasn't suppressing my feelings, I was acknowledging them, letting them pass without letting them define me. It was like stepping out of a fast-moving car and simply watching it go by instead of being dragged along. Incorporating these practices into daily life wasn't as difficult as I had feared. I found pockets of mindfulness in ordinary moments, sipping my morning tea, feeling the warmth of the cup, and inhaling the earthy scent. While washing dishes, I tuned into the sensation of water running over my hands. Even during conversations, I practiced being fully present, listening intently instead of formulating my next response. One evening, as I sat in meditation, a profound sense of peace settled over me. It was as if the universe itself had paused to breathe with me. My anxieties and worries felt distant, overshadowed by a calm acceptance of the present moment. This wasn't just a fleeting respite, but a glimpse into a deeper, more serene existence. The thought hit me: how much more could I heal if I continued this journey? Reflecting on my progress, I realized it wasn't about eradicating stress or sadness. Those were part of life's tapestry. Rather, mindfulness and meditation had equipped me with the tools to navigate them gracefully. I learned to sit with my discomfort, to breathe through moments of tension, and to appreciate the fleeting nature of every emotion. This transformation was monumental, not just in how I felt, but in how I engaged with the world around me. Yet, beneath this tranquility, I sensed a deeper challenge looming. There was a part of me still resistant to fully letting go, clinging to old patterns and fears. This resistance hinted at a profound inner conflict that needed addressing. The journey had only just begun, and I knew that revealing and confronting this hidden turbulence was my next step. As I delved deeper into mindfulness and meditation, I braced myself for whatever lay ahead, hopeful yet aware of the potential storms that might arise. Chapter 3: The Healing Power of Nature. Forest bathing, immersing yourself in the natural world. The moment I stepped into the forest, a wave of serenity washed over me. The hustle and bustle of city life seemed to dissolve into the whispers of leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. My lungs expanded with the fresh, pine-scented air, and I felt an immediate sense of relief. This was the beginning of my journey into forest bathing, a ritual that would soon become my sanctuary. Walking through the dense canopy of trees, I could feel the tension in my shoulders start to melt away. Each step I took on the mossy ground felt like walking on a natural carpet, softer and more forgiving than the concrete jungle I left behind. The sunlight filtering through the leaves created a mosaic of light and shadow, a natural kaleidoscope that bewitched my senses and held my attention. Every corner of this magical place seemed to invite me deeper into its embrace, urging me to let go of my worries and simply be present. As I ventured farther, I began to notice the subtle symphony of sounds that accompanied my solitude. The distant call of a bird echoed through the trees, its song mingling with the steady hum of insects and the occasional rustle of small creatures in the underbrush. I knelt beside a small stream, watching as the water danced over smooth stones, its gentle babble serenading my thoughts into a meditative state. My senses came alive, tuned to the natural rhythm that surrounded me. The rich aroma of earth, the vibrant hues of wildflowers, and the textured bark of ancient trees all conspired to ground me in the moment. I found myself drawn to a clearing where a colossal oak stood proudly, its branches like arms reaching toward the sky. Placing my hand on its rugged trunk, I closed my eyes and felt a connection that transcended words. There, leaning against the oak, I drifted into a tranquil reverie. Thoughts flitted by like butterflies, light and untethered. My mind, usually a whirlwind of obligations and deadlines, found solace in the simplicity of nature's cycles. Time seemed to stretch and bend, no longer constrained by the artificial tick of a clock, but instead flowing organically, like the stream at my feet. As I was about to leave the clearing, a sudden stillness enveloped the forest. The air grew thick with anticipation, and a prickle of awareness skated down my spine. I paused, heart pounding lightly in my chest, and scanned the shadows. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting. My pulse quickened, every sense on high alert, as I stood poised on the edge of the unknown. The therapeutic benefits of gardening. There's a solace that envelops me each time I step into my garden. The world outside may be chaotic, but here, within the embrace of this verdant haven, I find an uncanny sense of peace, a therapeutic comfort that nothing else in the modern world seems to offer. My garden is not just a collection of plants, it's an extension of my very soul, a sanctuary where I tend to the roots of my sanity. Each morning, with the sun's first light peeking over the horizon, I immerse myself in the simple yet profound act of gardening. It begins with the gentle hum of the soil, the way the earth crumbles between my fingers, rich and ready to nurture life. There's a rare magic in burying seeds, watching as what was once dormant erupts into vibrant life, reaching for the warmth of the sun, just as I do. My movements in the garden are almost ritualistic. The steady rhythm of digging, planting, watering, and pruning creates a meditative cadence that quiets my often restless mind. In these moments, I am wholly present, absorbed in the symphony of nature, the chirping of birds, the rustling leaves, the buzzing of unseen insects. It feels as though the world holds its breath, allowing me this moment of stillness. The transformation of a bud into a blooming flower never ceases to amaze me. It's a delicate reminder of life's beauty and resilience, even amidst adversity. Each plant tells a story of perseverance, mirroring my own journey. The seasons of the garden reflect the seasons of my life, each phase essential for growth. The struggles, overcoming pests, surviving the frost, enduring the harsh summer sun, are akin to my personal battles. And just as the garden thrives after every challenge, I find a renewed strength within myself. But more than just a metaphor for life, gardening offers tangible physical benefits. The act of bending, stretching, and lifting invigorates my body, combating the stiffness that comes with a sedentary lifestyle. The fresh air fills my lungs with each deep breath, replacing the stale air of confined spaces with nature's elixir. And under the golden glow of the sun, my body absorbs vitamin D, a natural antidote to the gloom that at times overshadows my mind. Beyond the physical, the emotional respite that gardening provides is profound. It's in the quiet contemplation that accompanies the nurturing of plants where I often find clarity. Problems that once seemed insurmountable unravel piece by piece as I tend to each leaf, each stem. The repetitive nature of gardening tasks gives my mind the freedom to wander, to process, and ultimately to heal. And so, my garden becomes a testament to the therapeutic power of nature. It's an ongoing dialogue between myself and the earth, a conversation that transcends words and taps into something more elemental. Here, I am both creator and caretaker, giving and receiving in a delicate balance that nourishes my spirit. Each time I witness a new bloom or a thriving plant, it's a silent affirmation that even in the simplest acts, there is profound significance. As evening falls and I take a final stroll through my garden, I notice how it mirrors my own journey of growth. Shadows lengthen, but the promise of a new dawn is always evident. In the gentle dance of petals swaying with the breeze, I find an assurance that no matter the darkness, light will invariably return. The garden, in its unspoken wisdom, teaches me to embrace patience, resilience, and above all, the quiet but potent power of nature's therapy. Embracing the elements, water, earth, fire, and air. There is an ancient wisdom in balancing the elements of water, earth, fire, and air within ourselves, a wisdom that I have come to cherish deeply. As I awaken each morning, my rituals begin with the gentle flow of water. I start with a mindful shower, feeling the streams cascade down, washing away yesterday's worries and preparing me for today's opportunities. The sensation is more than physical cleansing. It is a spiritual reset, immersing me in the tranquility and fluidity of water, helping me to adapt smoothly to life's ever-changing currents. Earth is all around us, grounding and nurturing. To connect with this element, I spend time in my garden, There's a certain magic in feeling the texture of soil between my fingers, in planting seeds and watching them grow. The garden becomes a mirror, reflecting the patience and care I must cultivate within myself. Sometimes I simply walk barefoot on the grass, each step a reminder of my roots, a reconnection to the stability and strength that the earth provides. This ritual anchors me, preventing the rush of daily life from sweeping me away. Fire, with its warmth and transformative power, dances in the heart of my sanctuary. Each evening, I light candles throughout my home. The flickering flames serve as a reminder of my inner light, my desire to pursue passions and ignite change. Fire rituals are particularly profound when I feel inertia setting in. Its blaze is a call to action, urging me never to remain stagnant. Watching those flames flicker and dance, I am inspired to fuel my ambitions, to forge paths where none existed before. Air, the element of breath and thought, is perhaps the subtlest yet most pervasive. I practice deep breathing exercises, especially during moments of stress. The simple act of inhaling deeply, holding the breath, and then exhaling gently clears my mind and fills my body with renewed energy. I also spend time contemplating open skies and allowing my thoughts to drift freely like clouds. This practice brings me mental clarity and creativity, making room for new ideas to bloom. By integrating these rituals seamlessly into my daily life, I touch upon the essence of each element, striving to maintain a delicate equilibrium. It's a journey of intentional living where every moment can be a tribute to these ancient forces. But there are times when the balance tips, moments when one element overpowers the others, casting my inner equilibrium into chaos. Those are the times that test my resolve, urging me to dive deeper into these practices. Yet, as the sun sets and I take a final breath of the crisp night air, I am reminded that balancing the elements is not about attaining perfection, but about embracing the ebb and flow, the constant dance of harmony within. Each day, water, earth, fire, and air teach me resilience, grounding, passion, and clarity. They are my guides, my companions in the pursuit of inner peace. And as I stand on the precipice of uncertainty, I know they will always be there, whispering their ancient wisdom, guiding me toward balance once more. Chapter 4: Energy Healing and Chakra Balancing. Understanding the body's energy centers. Exploring the unseen realms within us can sometimes feel like stepping into a vast, uncharted territory. My journey into understanding the body's energy centers, often called chakras, began almost by accident. At first, it was a curiosity piqued by a casual mention in a yoga class. The instructor spoke of unlocking energy and finding balance, concepts that felt elusive yet incredibly intriguing. Little did I know, these ideas would unfold into a profound personal adventure. I started by reading voraciously about the 7 primary chakras, learning that each one correlates to specific physical locations, emotional states, and spiritual aspects. The root chakra, for example, governs our sense of safety and grounding, while the crown chakra connects us to higher consciousness. Armed with knowledge, I began meditating with a focus on these centers, hoping to tap into their potential. Each session left me with sensations that were as mysterious as they were thrilling, sometimes a warmth or a tingling that wasn't purely physical. What truly brought this practice to life for me was a time of stress when life's demands felt like a river surging beyond its banks. It was then that I realized how imbalanced my energy centers had become. I started to actively work on each chakra, beginning with the root, envisioning a red glow at the base of my spine, stabilizing my unsettled nerves. Gradually, I moved upwards, each meditation weaving a layer of stability, creativity, and courage into my being. The transformation wasn't dramatic or sudden, but perceptible. I began to notice subtle changes, sleeping better, improved digestion, a surprising calmness in chaotic moments. By the time I reached the heart chakra, the shift was undeniable. There was a lightness in how I carried myself, a sense of emotional clarity that seemed almost foreign before. One particular experience that stands out was during a heated discussion at work. Instead of reacting defensively, I felt a shift within, a soft green luminosity that emanated from my chest, allowing me to listen and respond with empathy. It was as if understanding and compassion flowed effortlessly from within. What I couldn't anticipate was the profound effect the higher chakras would have. The throat chakra, linked to communication, gave me newfound confidence in expressing my truths. My creative projects flourished in unexpected ways, and those around me started noticing the change. My voice, both literally and metaphorically, felt liberated. Reaching the third eye and crown chakras brought the deepest transformations. My dreams began to offer vivid, meaningful insights, and my intuition sharpened to the point where decisions felt guided by an inner compass. Meditation on the crown chakra connected me to a sense of unity and peace, as if my individual worries dissolved into a larger, serene ocean of being. Balancing these energy centers has been a revelation, providing a holistic approach to well-being that transcends the physical. It isn't about eradicating problems, but about aligning oneself so that challenges are met with a centered, grounded presence. The more I delve into understanding my body's energy centers, the more I realize how intricately connected mind, body, and spirit truly are. I invite you to explore this journey for yourself. Begin with curiosity, and let that lead you to practices that resonate with you. The path may be unique for each of us, but the benefits, resilience, clarity, peace, are universal. As you tune into these energy centers, you might find, as I did, that the real treasure lies in the balance and harmony they bring to your everyday life. And perhaps, in that balance, we find not just well-being, but a deeper sense of who we are meant to be. Reiki healing, channeling universal life force energy. My journey with Reiki began unexpectedly. In the bustling chaos of life, I stumbled upon this ancient practice that promised serenity and healing. The concept seemed almost too good to be true. A gentle laying on of hands that could channel universal life force energy? It was hard to believe. Yet desperate times call for open minds, and I was ready to embrace anything that could bring some semblance of peace. The first session was a revelation. As I lay on the treatment table, soft music filtering through the dimly lit room, I felt a warm sensation spread from the practitioner's hands. It was subtle, like a soft breeze brushing against my skin, but its effects were profound. My muscles, often tensed and knotted from stress, began to relax. It felt as though a heavy cloak of weariness was being gently lifted off my shoulders. I remember the warmth the most. It was not just a physical heat, but an all-encompassing warmth that seeped into my very core. As the session progressed, a vivid sense of peace washed over me, unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was as if the universe itself was enfolding me in a gentle embrace, whispering reassurances in a language beyond words. Over the weeks, the physical relief became increasingly apparent. Chronic aches and pains that had plagued me for years began to dissipate. I found myself moving with an ease and fluidity that I hadn't known in a long time. More surprising, however, was the psychological transformation. My mind, often a tumultuous whirl of anxiety and doubt, started to find clarity. Thoughts that once consumed me with worry now seemed distant, almost trivial. It was as though Reiki was not just healing my body, but aligning my spirit and mind. Yet within this newfound tranquility, a subtle tension began to brew. There were moments during the sessions when I felt a distinct pushback, like an unseen barrier resisting the flow of energy. It was puzzling and slightly unnerving. The practitioner, sensing my unease, simply smiled and said, "Sometimes the energy encounters blockages. They might be emotional or spiritual. It's part of the healing process." This resistance intrigued me. What lay beneath these blockages? What hidden traumas or unresolved conflicts were surfacing in the face of this universal energy? The curiosity and slight apprehension grew with each session. I found myself contemplating not just the bliss of the healing, but the deeper layers of my being that were now being stirred. The energy was unlocking doors I didn't even know existed, and beyond those doors lay mysteries, both daunting and exhilarating. Balancing and aligning the chakras. I never imagined that my search for inner peace would lead me down the path of balancing and aligning chakras. The very mention of chakras used to evoke images of enigmatic mystics and esoteric practices. However, my journey began with a simple curiosity, a desire to understand the energy that flows within us and how to harmonize it. The first step, as with any journey, was education. I devoured books, attended workshops, and spoke to anyone who understood the basics of the 7 energy centers: root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. My initial attempts at aligning my chakras felt like fumbling in the dark. Meditation, I soon discovered, was key. I began to delve into guided meditations specifically designed for chakra alignment. Closing my eyes, I'd visualize a glowing red orb at the base of my spine, symbolizing the root chakra. With each breath, I'd imagine this red light growing stronger, a solid foundation grounding me to the earth. Some days were frustrating, the connection elusive. Yet, over time, the effort blossomed into clarity, and I felt a newfound sense of stability in my life. Emboldened by my progress, I explored healing crystals. I'd align them along my body, each corresponding to the respective chakra: carnelian for sacral, citrine for solar plexus, rose quartz for heart. Lying in stillness, I'd feel subtle vibrations emanating from the stones, a gentle hum that seemed to recalibrate my being. I even created personal affirmations for each energy center. In the mornings, I'd stand in front of the mirror, declaring my intentions. I am safe and secure for the root chakra. I am creative and inspired for the sacral, and so on. One evening, as I was meditating on my throat chakra, a luminous blue orb in my neck, I felt an overwhelming urge to speak my truth. My throat buzzed with energy, words forming unbidden. I hadn't planned on confronting my boss, but the following day I did. To my surprise, the conversation went smoothly. My candid honesty met with respect. Experiences like these reaffirmed my belief in the power of aligned chakras. The most profound shift came with the practice of Reiki. Here, I was both the student and the recipient. Through the gentle laying of hands, I felt blockages dissolve. The healer's warmth coursed through me, amplifying my energy centers. It was as if my chakras were singing in harmony. I recall one session where I entered a trance-like state, vivid colors swirling, my crown chakra expanding into a brilliant violet lotus. When I emerged, I felt reborn, connected to a vast universal wisdom. Balancing chakras isn't a one-time fix, but a continuous journey of self-discovery and maintenance. Yet with each aligned center, a part of my life clicked into place. Interactions became more meaningful, creativity flowed unchecked, and my spiritual awareness deepened. Sharing these techniques with friends and seeing them thrive brought immense satisfaction. I urge anyone feeling out of sync to embark on this journey. Start small, be consistent, and most importantly, trust the process. Chapter 5: Holistic Approaches to Pain Management. Acupuncture, tapping into the body's healing energy. My journey with acupuncture began with an acute desperation to find relief from chronic pain. After years of conventional treatments and countless medications with minimal outcomes, the wariness had settled deep in my bones. I'd heard whispers of acupuncture's transformative powers, but had always been skeptical of how simple needles could orchestrate such profound healing. My first appointment felt like stepping into an ancient ritual. The acupuncturist welcomed me with warm, understanding eyes, instantly soothing some of my anxiousness. The room, with its calming aromas of lavender and faint notes of traditional Eastern music, felt like a sanctuary. I laid on the treatment bed, the paper crinkling beneath me, and listened as she explained the basic principles of acupuncture: the meridian system, the flow of qi, and the way these slender, unassuming needles could unblock pathways and stimulate the body's innate healing abilities. As she prepared the needles, I felt a fleeting wave of fear, my mind picturing sharp points piercing into raw nerves. But the reality was unexpectedly gentle. Each needle was so fine that I barely felt it breach the skin. She strategically placed them along my meridians, focusing particularly on points linked to my chronic neck and back pain. Once inserted, a strange, warm sensation began to spread from each point, not painful, but a deep, internal hum of energy awakening. During that first session, my mind wandered over reflections of my pain-ridden days. I had been missing out on life's simplest pleasures, like taking long walks or playing with my children, without wincing. As the session concluded, she slowly removed the needles, leaving behind a tingling sense of calm and, to my surprise, a significant reduction in my pain. With each ensuing visit, I could feel the cumulative effects of these treatments. It was as though my body had started to recall its natural state of balance and well-being. My sleep improved, my energy levels increased, and the chronic pains that had once defined my days ebbed away. The science behind it fascinated me. These needles stimulate nerves, muscles, and connective tissue, increasing blood flow and triggering the body's natural painkillers. Though modern science has its explanations, there's an enigmatic depth to acupuncture that defies full comprehension by Western medicine. This ancient practice is a bridge between the tangible and the ethereal. Now, as I reflect on my journey, I see acupuncture not just as a treatment, but as a teacher. It reconnected me with the rhythms of my own body and reminded me of the intricate, often overlooked energies that flow within us. It's a subtle dance of precision, patience, and trust, a testament to the body's incredible capacity to heal when given the right tools. And as I lay here, needles gently pressing into my skin, I can't help but feel profoundly grateful for this path, for rediscovering a pain-free life I thought I had lost forever. Herbal medicine and natural remedies. The first time I truly appreciated the power of herbal medicine, I was visiting my grandmother in her quaint countryside home. The kitchen smelled of rosemary and thyme, herbs she diligently grew in her garden. She was a firm believer in the wisdom of plants, often telling me, "Nature has a cure for everything if you know where to look." As a child, I never understood the depth of her words, but that summer marked the beginning of my journey into the world of natural remedies. One evening, after a long day of chores, I complained about a persistent headache. Instead of reaching for a bottle of aspirin, my grandmother brewed a cup of peppermint tea, handed it to me with a knowing smile, and said, "This will help you more than any pill." Skeptical but trusting her, I sipped the aromatic tea. To my surprise, the headache began to ease, replaced by a soothing calmness. That night, I slept better than I had in months, my grandmother's voice echoing, "Nature knows best." Years later, during a particularly stressful period in my life, I found myself remembering that calming peppermint tea. Overwhelmed by work and personal pressures, I felt as though I was on the brink of breaking. Desperate for relief, I decided to revisit the concept of herbal medicine, hoping to rediscover the comfort it once provided. I started small, substituting my morning coffee with chamomile tea, known for its calming properties. The effects were subtle but noticeable. My anxiety began to diminish, and I felt more grounded, as if the chaos around me had started to quiet. Encouraged by this, I delved deeper into herbal remedies, researching and experimenting with various plants and their uses. I replaced over-the-counter cold medicines with elderberry syrup, embracing its immune-boosting properties. For muscle pain, I turned to arnica gel, which seemed to work wonders overnight. Each success deepened my conviction in this ancient practice, making me appreciate the balance and harmony it brought into my life. One of the most profound experiences came when I helped a dear friend who suffered from severe eczema. Watching him struggle with the itchy, inflamed skin was heart-wrenching. Modern medicine had offered little relief, so I suggested a homemade topical cream using calendula and lavender oils, known for their anti-inflammatory and soothing benefits. Together, we prepared the concoction, and he applied it religiously. Within weeks, the angry red patches faded, the itching subsided, and his skin began to heal. The gratitude in his eyes solidified my belief in the healing power of plants. Herbal medicine is not just about healing the body, it's about healing the soul. It connects us to nature, fostering a deeper understanding of the world around us. Each remedy I discover, each ailment I alleviate using these natural treasures, feels like unlocking a secret that has been whispered through generations. The more I explored, the more I realized that this journey was far from over. There was always more to learn, more to heal, more to share. As I continue this journey, I'm reminded of a particular evening in the heart of an enchanting forest. Surrounded by towering trees and the faint scent of pine, I stumbled upon a mysterious, ancient text about herbalism. The pages, worn and delicate, spoke of remedies forgotten by modern society. I felt a shiver down my spine, sensing that I was on the brink of an incredible discovery that could redefine my understanding of herbal medicine entirely. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for me to uncover the next hidden cure, the next secret nature was ready to reveal. Exploring the benefits of aromatherapy. As I unlatched the small wooden box nestled on my dresser, a wave of familiar, comforting aromas greets me. This unassuming box is more than just a vessel for essential oils. It's my personal treasure chest of wellness and tranquility. Each tiny vial holds within it the secret to a different sensory journey, each drop a promise of respite and rejuvenation. Lavender is the first scent I reach for. Known for its calming properties, it has become my refuge during stressful days. One whiff, and the tension in my shoulders begins to dissolve. The delicate, floral aroma wraps around me like a soft, warm blanket, soothing the knots of anxiety that often tighten within me. I've even added a few drops to my pillowcase, ensuring a peaceful slumber, untouched by the tendrils of stress and worry. Days filled with fatigue and low energy call for the invigorating burst of citrus oils. Lemon, grapefruit, and bergamot blend to form an energizing medley that lifts my spirits. A few drops in my diffuser, and the air around me is charged with a lively vibrancy, like the first light of dawn breaking through a long, dark night. It's impossible to remain sluggish with such an effervescent scent swirling through the room, dancing playfully in the air. During periods of reflection and meditation, frankincense becomes my companion. Its rich resinous aroma grounds me, connecting me to the earth, while also inviting introspection. The ancient smell, steeped in mystique, transports me to a place of deep calm and clarity. Amidst the chaos of daily life, frankincense anchors my thoughts, helping me navigate through the noisiness of my mind. As I continue to explore the myriad benefits of aromatherapy, I encounter new and intriguing scents like eucalyptus and peppermint for their refreshing, breathing, easy qualities, or ylang-ylang for its ability to balance and soothe emotions. Each oil has a distinct character and a specific purpose, and in learning to blend them, I almost feel like an alchemist crafting potions for mind and body. One evening, after a particularly trying day, I decide to experiment with a new blend. The heady mix of jasmine and sandalwood fills the room. An unexpected wave of tranquility washes over me as the floral and woody notes intertwine, creating a complex, intoxicating fragrance that seems to touch the deepest corners of my soul. I close my eyes, allowing the transformative power of this blend to take hold, unraveling the stress knotted within me. It's in these moments that I realize just how profound the impact of scent can be. Aromatherapy isn't just about pleasant aromas. It's about finding balance and peace amidst the tumult. Every droplet carries with it an ability to shift my mood, to elevate my spirit, or to calm the storm within. As the night deepens and the scents linger, a sense of completion washes over me. Each experience with aromatherapy reaffirms its place in my life. It has become an essential part of my healing toolkit, a testament to the simple yet remarkable ways nature can touch our lives. The next blend awaits discovery, and with it, another journey towards wellness, wrapped in the gentle embrace of a potent, invisible force. Chapter 6: Emotional Healing and Inner Peace. Healing from within, cultivating emotional resilience. Emotional resilience has been more than a term to me. It has been the life raft that buoyed me above the choppy waters of my internal storms. Learning to navigate my own emotional landscape was like setting sail across an uncharted ocean. Every wave was a new challenge, every gust of wind a sudden, unexpected change. Yet through it all, I found strength I never knew I possessed. One transformative strategy I've adopted is the practice of mindfulness. Initially, it felt alien, sitting quietly and focusing on my breath. My mind, always a whirlwind of thoughts and anxieties, resisted the stillness, but with consistency, mindfulness became my anchor. I found I could observe my emotions without being swept away by them, allowing me to respond rather than react. A pivotal moment came when I discovered the power of self-compassion. Life has a way of dealing harsh blows, and it's tempting to beat oneself up over failures and perceived inadequacies. I used to be my own worst critic, but learning to treat myself with the kindness and understanding I would offer a friend became a game changer. The shift didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual process of catching my self-critical thoughts, redirecting them, and nurturing a sense of inner warmth and acceptance. Community support has also played an indispensable role. Sharing my experiences with trusted friends and professionals created a network of empathy and validation. It was like constructing a bridge of understanding, each conversation a plank laid down with care. Knowing I wasn't alone in my struggles made the journey feel less daunting and more navigable. Physical activity, too, has been a surprising ally in fortifying my emotional core. I took up running, not because I sought to escape my feelings, but to engage with them in a healthier way. Each stride on the pavement, each deep breath, became a metaphorical release of pent-up emotions. The physical exertion mirrored the emotional effort, generating a profound sense of liberation. Perhaps the most profound lesson has been embracing vulnerability. For so long, I equated being resilient with being unbreakable. But true resilience is rooted in the willingness to be open and authentic, even when it's uncomfortable. By allowing myself to feel deeply and share those feelings, I learned that vulnerability was not a marker of weakness, but a testament to my strength and humanity. As I reflect on this journey, I am filled with a mixture of gratitude and awe. Building emotional resilience has been akin to sculpting a masterpiece, each chiseled strike revealing more of my true self. While the work is ongoing and there are always new challenges, I've come to appreciate the beauty in the process itself. Emotional resilience is not just about bouncing back from adversity, it's about thriving amidst life's inevitable uncertainties. And so, in this continuous dance with my emotions, I have found a sense of peace. Not an absence of turmoil, but an enduring calm born from the ability to weather the storm. It's an imperfect, yet profoundly human journey, a testament to our incredible capacity for growth and healing from within. The power of forgiveness and letting go. The sun had just begun to dip below the horizon, casting long, golden shadows across my living room. I sat there, memories cascading through my mind like a torrent, each carrying with it a fragment of the anger and resentment I'd been clinging to. It struck me then how much of my energy was consumed by these lingering grudges. There was one grudge in particular that had carved a deep crevice in my heart. It involved a dear friend, someone I had trusted implicitly, only to be blindsided by betrayal. The pain of that betrayal had festered, becoming a heavy anchor on my soul. I remember the day vividly when our friendship shattered, the harsh words, the betrayal slicing through my beliefs like a knife. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months, and still, I held on to that bitterness. It colored every interaction, every thought, until it became a part of my very being. I was constantly on edge, my spirit weighed down by the heavy chains of unforgiven grievances. The anger had taken root, manifesting in sleepless nights and restless days. People noticed the change in me. The spark of joy in my eyes had dimmed. It wasn't until I stumbled across an old, forgotten journal entry that things began to shift. The entry was from a time before the betrayal, a time when my heart was light and free. Reading my own joyful words was like a breath of fresh air. It was a version of myself that seemed almost foreign, yet achingly familiar. I realized how much I missed that person, me, unburdened and open-hearted. Gradually, I began to entertain the idea of forgiveness. It felt foreign and almost impossible at first. How could I forgive someone who had caused me so much pain? But the more I thought about it, the more I understood that forgiveness was less about the other person and more about setting myself free. It was about reclaiming my peace and finding closure. One evening, I sat down in that same living room, the place where my resentment had deepened, and I closed my eyes. I visualized my friend standing before me. I imagined myself speaking the words I thought I could never say. I forgive you. As the words formed in my mind, a strange thing happened. The heavy knot in my chest began to loosen. It wasn't instantaneous. Forgiveness was a journey, a liberating process that unfolded slowly. Day by day, I released chunks of the bitterness until I could think of my friend without feeling that familiar sting. It was as if a dense fog had lifted, revealing a landscape of possibilities and new beginnings. The newfound lightness in my spirit was undeniable. Letting go of that grudge didn't mean forgetting the lessons learned. On the contrary, it strengthened my resolve, teaching me resilience and the profound power of acceptance. It taught me that holding on to pain only perpetuates suffering, while forgiveness can be a transformative gift to oneself. The true power of forgiveness and letting go is liberation. It's an act of self-love, a declaration of independence from the chains that bind us to past hurts. By forgiving, I reclaimed not only my peace, but also my ability to fully live in the present. This journey taught me that forgiving others is an act of grace, and letting go is an affirmation of life's continuous flow, ever-changing, ever-renewing. cultivating joy and gratitude in everyday life. I recall the first glimmers of this journey, moments when life's chaos seemed to choke the very air I breathed. Hardships lined the seams of my days, a relentless parade of challenges that threatened to erode my spirit. In those darkest hours, a simple practice of joy and gratitude came to my rescue, illuminating my path towards holistic healing. It began with the smallest of gestures, a mere acknowledgement of the morning sun filtering through the window, a deep breath taken with intention, the first sip of coffee. I started keeping a journal, each page a testament to the beauty I overlooked daily. Writing down 3 things I was grateful for each night became a ritual, a sacred pause to reconnect with the world's subtle gifts. Presence, it turned out, was the key. Being fully present in each moment, even the mundane ones, unearthed a reservoir of joy I didn't know existed. I started to embrace the quiet of early mornings, the laughter of friends, the touch of a cool breeze. I reveled in the funny and unexpected, like the way my cat would knock over anything remotely breakable, forcing me to laugh instead of cry. As I leaned into these practices, joy and gratitude intertwined, forming a firm foundation beneath my feet. They became my anchor during storms, my shield against the incessant negativity that sometimes pervades life. Whenever I felt lost, I revisited those entries in my journal, each one a reminder that even in sorrow, beauty persists. This didn't mean that life suddenly became free of pain or adversity, but by nurturing joy and gratitude, I found strength I didn't know I possessed. They transformed my perspective, enabling me to see opportunities for growth where once there were only obstacles. They taught me to celebrate small victories and to find silver linings in even the grayest clouds. The more I practiced, the more these emotions became second nature. I began to see them not as destinations, but as companions on my journey. Joy and gratitude walked with me through the valleys of despair and lifted me when the peaks seemed too high to reach. They humbled me, yet also empowered me, reminding me that even the bitterest seasons have a sweetness waiting to be discovered. In reflecting on this practice, I realize how transformative it has been. Joy and gratitude are no longer fleeting feelings, but integral parts of my being. They are the bright threads woven through the tapestry of my holistic healing, each day richer and more vibrant for their presence. And as I continue on this path, I am constantly reminded that cultivating these emotions, even in the smallest ways, can lead to profound and lasting change. Chapter 7. Mind-Body Practices for Stress Relief. Yoga, uniting the mind, body, and breath. Every morning, just before sunrise, I roll out my yoga mat in the quiet corner of my living room. The world outside is still cloaked in darkness, but there's an almost sacred silence that envelops these early hours. It's in this silent embrace that I begin to unite my mind, body, and breath. Yoga for me wasn't always a daily practice. It started as a curious dabble, inspired by glossy magazine articles and fleeting conversations with friends who swore by its transformative power. My initiation was hesitant. I was skeptical, unsure how poses and stretches could lead to any semblance of inner peace. But there was a longing in me, an ache to find a sense of equilibrium that my frazzled mind desperately needed. The first thing yoga taught me was the art of breathing. It sounds trivial, doesn't it? Breathing is as involuntary as a heartbeat, yet we rarely give it a second thought. But there, on my mat, with the faint glow of dawn creeping in, I learned to breathe with intention. Deep, measured breaths that filled my lungs and calmed my racing thoughts. Inhale, exhale. With each cycle, the clutter in my mind slowly began to dissipate, like mist melting away to reveal a clear sky. Poses came next. Initially, my body resisted. The stretches felt awkward, the balance elusive, but with persistence, my muscles began to yield, and I marveled at their latent potential. Warrior pose made me feel invincible. Tree pose rooted me in the present, and downward dog brought a delicious stretch that whispered of new beginnings. Each asana, a physical manifestation of a journey toward wholeness. As days became weeks, and weeks turned into months, I noticed a shift. My practice was no longer confined to the measured moments on the mat. The lessons of yoga began to seep into my daily life, my breath steadying in moments of stress, my posture aligning with newfound confidence, and my mind finding peace in the chaos of living. There's an ancient Sanskrit word, sankalpa, meaning intention or resolve. Every practice, I set a sankalpa, a promise to myself. It was a subtle reminder of my goals and aspirations, anchoring me when distractions threatened to pull me away. Yoga became my refuge, a meditative dance where mind, body, and breath moved in harmonious rhythm. But perhaps the most profound realization was one of acceptance. Yoga doesn't demand perfection. It's a gentle nudge towards self-awareness and kindness to oneself. Some days my poses were less than perfect. Some days my mind wandered. But there was grace in those imperfections, a reminder that every day is a new beginning, a fresh breath. There's a palpable magic in these moments before the day unfolds, a sense of unity, of being in complete sync with oneself. The echoes of my breath, the steady beat of my heart, the fluid movements of my body, all converge to create a symphony of tranquility. It's a reminder that amidst the hustle and bustle, peace lies within, waiting to be embraced. And so every morning, as the first light of dawn breaks the darkness, I find myself on that mat, ready to unite once more. Inhale, exhale, a harmonious flow, a dance of mind, body, and breath. Tai Chi, harmonizing movement and meditation. Even before the first rays of dawn pierced through the heavy curtains of my room, I would find myself already in the backyard, bare feet rooted firmly to the ground. Each morning began with a deep breath, a silent ritual, an exploration into a world where movement and stillness intertwined seamlessly. The first time I dipped my toes into the realm of Tai Chi, it felt as though I was trying to decipher an ancient language, one written not in words, but in fluid, graceful motions. Yet, with each passing day, the postures began to make sense, their meanings gradually unfurling like the delicate petals of a lotus blossom. I remember the initial clumsiness, my limbs flailing inelegantly as I tried to follow the instructor's seamless movements. At first, my steps felt jagged, like pieces of a puzzle forced together. Breathe in deeply, my instructor would say, and let your body find the rhythm. I realized that Tai Chi was not just about the physical forms. It required patience, an unhurried commitment to the present moment. It was meditation in motion, an invitation to slow down and immerse oneself in the ebb and flow of life. Gradually, I began to appreciate the tasteful simplicity of each move, each moment a brushstroke on the canvas of my day. Barefoot on dewy grass, eyes closed, I would trace invisible designs in the air, feeling a curious blend of vulnerability and strength. The movements became more than mere physical exercise. They were the vessel through which I discovered an intimate dialogue between mind and body. An ethereal calmness would envelop me, a graceful counterpoint to the frenzy of modern life. I found myself savoring the balance, the effortless shifts from tension to relaxation, like a willow tree bending and yielding to the wind. It was during these moments that I felt an unspoken harmony, the gentle admittance that I was part of something beautiful and timeless. What truly amazed me was the profound sense of inner harmony that Tai Chi fostered. This newfound serenity began to seep into other aspects of my life, smoothing out rough edges, dissolving anxieties I didn't even know I harbored. I marveled at how these slow, deliberate movements could stir such profound inner stillness. Tai Chi, which at first seemed so alien and complex, now felt like a natural extension of myself. The practice carved out a serene space within me, a refuge of calm amidst the clamor of daily existence. As the weeks turned into months, I became more attuned to the subtleties of each move, more aware of the gentle oscillation between exertion and relaxation. This practice, once just a mere curiosity, evolved into a lifeline. Tai Chi was no longer about mastering movements, but about mastering oneself. I was connected to a lineage of practitioners who had, for centuries, danced this silent dance of balance and breath. It was a revelation, a slow, steady climb towards inner peace that resonated deeply with my being. One serene morning, as I stood alone in the misty dawn, I felt something shift inside me. An undeniable sense of clarity washed over me, as if the universe had unfurled a secret just for my heart to understand. This profound connection, a fusion of spirit and form, took root deeply within, revealing a promise of infinite possibilities. Tai Chi had become the axis around which my world revolved, an eternal dance of harmony waiting to unfold its next elegant secret. Breathwork, nurturing the mind-body connection. Breathwork has been a revelation in my healing journey. I never imagined that something as simple and fundamental as breathing could bring profound changes to my mind, body, and soul. It all started when a friend introduced me to a breathwork class. Intrigued and somewhat skeptical, I decided to give it a try. Little did I know, it would be the beginning of an extraordinary transformation. At first, I found it challenging to focus on my breath. My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, and sitting still felt nearly impossible. But with patience and practice, I began to notice subtle changes. I felt a calmness that I hadn't experienced in years, a sense of clarity that was both refreshing and empowering. It's as if my breath was guiding me to a place of inner peace, unlocking doors to parts of myself I had long forgotten. One of the most enlightening moments came during a particularly stressful period. Work was overwhelming, and my personal life was in turmoil. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of anxiety. One evening, I decided to sit down and practice deep, mindful breathing. Slowly, as I focused on each inhale and exhale, I felt a wave of tranquility wash over me. My heart rate slowed, my muscles relaxed, and for the first time in days, I felt centered. With consistent practice, the benefits became even more pronounced. Physically, I noticed a reduction in chronic pain that had plagued me for years. My sleep improved, and I woke up feeling more rested and rejuvenated. Emotionally, I felt more resilient, better equipped to handle life's challenges. The practice of breathwork became a sanctuary, a place where I could retreat and find solace amidst the chaos. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of breathwork is the mind-body connection it fosters. By focusing on the breath, I became more attuned to my body's signals. I started to recognize patterns, identifying triggers for stress and anxiety before they could overwhelm me. This heightened awareness allowed me to respond to situations with greater mindfulness, cultivating a sense of balance and harmony. As I reflect on this journey, I am filled with gratitude for the practice of breathwork. It has taught me the power of the present moment, the importance of self-awareness, and the profound impact of mindful living. Each breath has become a reminder of my strength, resilience, and capacity for healing. Breathwork is not just a practice, it is a way of life that has nurtured my mind-body connection, enriching my existence in ways I never thought possible. As the days go by, I find myself even more immersed in this practice. The relationship between breath and being, between air and awareness, continues to unfold, revealing deeper layers of understanding. I eagerly anticipate each session, each inhale offering a promise, and each exhale a release. And with each breath, I move one step closer to the true essence of my being. Chapter 8: Spiritual Exploration and Self-Discovery. Journeying inward, exploring your inner landscape. I often find myself standing on the precipice of my own mind, peering into the uncharted depths that lie within. It's a landscape not unlike the physical world around us, full of peaks and valleys, hidden caverns and verdant forests. The journey inward is one of discovery, unveiling secrets that have long been buried under the sediment of daily life. With each step, I uncover a part of myself that had been forgotten or ignored. My first voyage inside was prompted by a period of intense personal turmoil. Life had thrown its fair share of challenges at me, and I found myself at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take. It was in this moment of uncertainty that I turned inward, seeking clarity and understanding. What I discovered was a labyrinth of thoughts and emotions, some beautiful, some frightening. Yet, every fragment I unearthed was a piece of the puzzle that is me. There were moments of revelation and moments of despair. The inner landscape is riddled with both light and shadow. I encountered memories I had long repressed, fears that had taken root deep within my subconscious. Yet I also stumbled upon reservoirs of strength and reservoirs of love, hidden away yet vital to my being. Each revelation brought with it a sense of catharsis, a release of pent-up energy that had been stifling my growth. One of the most significant insights I gained from this exploration was the realization that my inner world is fluid. It's constantly shifting and evolving, shaped by my experiences and perceptions. This realization brought with it a sense of empowerment. I understood that while I might not have control over the external events that impact my life, I do have control over how I perceive and react to them. This shift in perspective has been transformative, allowing me to approach life with a newfound sense of resilience and adaptability. As I continue to journey inward, I am reminded that this is a lifelong process. There will always be new layers to uncover, new aspects of myself to understand. It's a journey that requires patience, courage, and self-compassion. But with each step I take, I grow more attuned to my inner landscape and, in turn, more attuned to the world around me. There is a certain tension that builds as I delve deeper into the recesses of my mind. It's the anticipation of not knowing what I will encounter next. Yet, this tension is also a source of excitement, a driving force that propels me forward. The journey inward is not for the faint of heart, but for those who are willing to face their innermost selves. It holds the promise of profound growth and self-discovery. The wisdom of tarot and oracle cards. The rich aroma of incense wafted through the room, mingling with the soft sound of shuffling cards. I breathed deeply, savoring the moment before a reading, the slow exhalation, a ritualistic clearing of my mind. The deck was an extension of my senses, each card a portal to the whispers of my intuition. Tarot cards first found me during a turbulent period of my life. Desperately seeking clarity, I stumbled upon a small metaphysical shop on a tucked-away street. Inside, I found a community where curiosity and the mystical intertwined. It was within this sanctuary that I purchased my first deck. The cards emanated an inexplicable allure, as if they held secrets waiting to be unveiled. Over time, I cultivated a practice that became both solace and guiding star. Each morning, before the cacophony of the day could echo into my consciousness, I would draw a card. The act of shuffling was meditative. The cards' intricate designs, a landscape where my mind could wander. The messages they delivered weren't always straightforward or comforting, but they were always insightful. The Hierophant might remind me to seek wisdom beyond myself, while the Fool's appearance could encourage a leap of faith in an uncertain direction. Oracle's cards added a different dimension to my practice. Where tarot was structured, following a certain universal law, oracle decks were freeform, each varying with its creator's vision. I loved the freedom they represented, the stylistic diversity from deck to deck, each with its own voice and language. Whenever I felt the tarot's rigidity, I'd turn to an oracle deck for a fresh perspective. Often, these cards spoke in gentler tones, their messages like a friend offering gentle guidance. There was an undeniable synergy between the two. I'd often pull a tarot card for direction and clarify it with an oracle card, their combined wisdom offering a nuanced narrative that just one couldn't provide. It was as if the tarot laid down the map and the oracle provided the terrain's texture, bringing the path to life with color and depth. Little by little, I realized that the true power of these cards lay not in predicting the future, but in connecting me with my inner voice. They acted as a reflective tool, helping me explore the depths of my subconscious and bringing to light thoughts and feelings I had yet to acknowledge. Through practice, my intuition sharpened. Patterns and symbols danced in my mind, connecting dots that, in the quotidian rush, might have been overlooked. This intuitive sharpening became a sixth sense, an unspoken language of itself. But it's the nights that truly tested my faith in these ancient tools. There were times when I couldn't see beyond a clouded horizon, when the weight of the unknown was too heavy to bear. During these moments, I'd light candles, creating a sanctuary of light within the darkness. With each card drawn, the shadows seemed less daunting, the darkness less opaque. Even if the cards offered troubling messages, they also provided a sense of preparedness, a whisper that amidst the chaos, there was order waiting to be uncovered. And so I became my own cartographer, mapping the terrain of my soul with these cards. Each reading was a plot point, directing me closer to an unknown destination that was both external and deeply internal. Through their wisdom, I learned that answers often lie within, and that sometimes a simple deck of cards holds the key to unlocking the doors closed tightly in one's heart. As my journey with tarot and oracle cards continues to evolve, I find myself more attuned to the synchronicities of life, trusting that the universe has a way of guiding us, not always with a gentle hand, but with one that ultimately ensures growth. It's this dynamic relationship, this dance between seeking and surrendering, that makes each reading a precious encounter with the wisdom that lies just beyond the veil. And so, even as we stand at the crossroads of our existence, the tarot and oracle remain trusty companions, their silent wisdom always ready to reveal the next step for those willing to listen. It's a journey without a final destination, just endless moments of discovery and insight, where each card turned is a promise of the universe's whisper, infinite and wise, waiting to guide us home, honoring your ancestral lineage and heritage. There was a time I viewed my ancestry as little more than a collection of dusty photographs and occasional holiday gatherings. It wasn't until a few years ago that I began to truly understand the significance of my lineage, the threads that weave the tapestry of who I am today. My journey started quite unexpectedly with a faded letter I discovered in my grandmother's attic. I unfolded the delicate paper, fascinated by the elegant cursive script that belonged to my great-great-grandmother. Her words, penned over a century ago, spoke of hope and heartache, of dreams and struggles. I felt an unexpected jolt of connection, a sensation as if her very essence was reaching out to me across time. That moment marked the beginning of a profound transformation, one that connected me deeply with my ancestry. As I delved deeper into exploring my lineage, I began incorporating new practices into my life. Rituals became a way to honor my ancestors, a bridge to the past that allowed me to draw strength and wisdom. I would light a candle each evening, sitting quietly with thoughts of those who came before me. Their experiences, their triumphs and tribulations, became a rich source of learning and inspiration. Connecting with my ancestors provided a renewed sense of belonging. I felt anchored, rooted in something larger than myself. My identity, my values, and even my aspirations seemed clearer, shaped by the stories and lessons passed down through generations. This newfound perspective guided me, offering solace during turbulent times and wisdom when faced with difficult decisions. One evening, as I sifted through old family heirlooms in search of more clues about my heritage, I came across a locked box. Its ornate carvings suggested it held something of great significance. My curiosity piqued. I resolved to find the key. Little did I know, that tiny box held secrets that would deepen my connection to my ancestors in ways I couldn't have imagined. As I stood there, anticipation building, I wondered, what hidden truths would this small relic reveal? Chapter 9. Cultivating Mindful Relationships. The Art of Active Listening and Deep Communication. The first time I truly grasped the essence of active listening, it wasn't in some communication seminar or self-help book. Rather, it was during a mundane Sunday brunch with an old friend, Emma, who had always been a fast talker with a propensity to sprinkle her conversations with vivid hand gestures. On that particular day, she seemed quieter, more subdued, her words dribbling out tentatively. I could sense an offbeat rhythm in her usually rapid-fire chatter, a softer undertone laden with unspoken gravity. Emma was trying to tell me something, but it wasn't in her words. It was in the gaps, the pauses, the sighs. As Emma spoke, I found myself leaning in, not just physically, but metaphorically, as if trying to reach into the spaces between her words to gather the unuttered thoughts hanging in the air. I stayed silent, letting her fill the silence at her own pace. Each pause she filled felt like a little gift of vulnerability. In those moments, I wasn't just listening to Emma, I was hearing her. This brings us to the heart of active listening. It's not merely about staying quiet while the other person speaks or nodding in agreement. It's about engaging with the person at an emotional and cognitive level. One of the techniques I discovered involves not interrupting with immediate solutions or judgments, which I had been guilty of in the past. Instead, I began to reflect back what I heard, mirroring emotions and sometimes even restating what was said to clarify my understanding. "It sounds like you're really stressed about the new project," I would say, watching their face for cues if I was on the right path. Another technique I found invaluable was asking open-ended questions. Instead of querying, "Did you have a tough day?" which might elicit a simple yes or no, I would ask, "What was the most challenging part of your day?" This approach never failed to draw out richer, more detailed responses, often illuminating the hidden layers of the person's experience. One particularly poignant moment of deep communication materialized a year later with my younger brother, Max. We have always been close, but I felt a growing chasm between us since he moved to another city. During his visit home, we took a walk through the old neighborhood, a nostalgic backdrop laden with childhood memories. As we strolled, I made it a point to practice the art of active listening. I asked him about his job, his new friends, his dreams, and his fears. As he opened up, I listened, not just with my ears, but with my heart. Midway through our conversation, he paused, looking at a familiar oak tree from our past. "Do you remember when we used to climb that and look for the highest leaf we could reach?" he asked, his voice tinged with a wistful note. I nodded, waiting silently, feeling the weight of his words. "I miss that," he continued. "Life was simple then. Now, everything seems more complicated." There it was, the unsaid anxiety and homesickness finally surfacing. In that moment, I realized the transformative power of active listening and deep communication. It's not always about solving, advising, or agreeing. Sometimes it's about creating a safe space where someone feels seen, heard, and understood. This chapter of my life taught me that mastering the art of listening can unlock profound depths in our relationships, turning ordinary conversations into meaningful dialogues. As I sat there with Max, both of us gazing at the old oak tree, I felt an unspoken bond that words could never encapsulate. It was in the silence, in the shared memories, and mutual understanding that our connection deepened. It's moments like these that remind me why the art of active listening and deep communication is a skill worth cultivating, not just for the sake of others, but for ourselves as well. We all yearn to be truly heard, to have our silent pains acknowledged without judgment. Sometimes, listening is the highest form of love we can offer, nurturing healthy boundaries and self-respect. There was a time when the concept of boundaries was as foreign to me as an undiscovered continent. I found myself constantly saying yes to everyone, trying to be the perfect friend, the employee who never faltered, and the partner who always put the other first. It was exhausting, both physically and emotionally, but I didn't realize it. The bottomless well of my enthusiasm had its limits, though I was reluctant to admit it. The turning point came subtly, almost imperceptibly. I remember a particularly tumultuous week at work, where multiple deadlines collided and promises made under duress began to stack up. Every evening, I dragged myself home, my spirit bruised, and each morning I found it harder to muster the energy to care. It wasn't the workload itself that broke me. It was the realization that I had willingly walked myself into a continuous cycle of overcommitment and self-neglect. Setting the first boundary felt like stepping off a cliff, terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. It was a simple, almost trivial matter, declining a coffee invitation from a colleague when I already had too much on my plate. The earth didn't shatter, the sky didn't fall, but internally, it felt like a monumental shift. The world adapted to my no, and, surprisingly, so did I. Personal relationships, I found, were more complicated. Some old friends, accustomed to my always available attitude, struggled to understand the change. There were accusations of selfishness, of not caring. It hurt, but I stood firm, despite the pangs of guilt that clawed at my heart. The ones who truly valued me began to understand and respect my new boundaries, but inevitably, a few relationships didn't survive the transition. It was painful, yet remarkably freeing. The most significant challenge was respecting myself. I had to learn to see my own needs as valid and deserving of attention. I started small, carving out time for a hobby or permitting myself a lazy Sunday without remorse. Gradually, these acts of self-respect became a part of my routine, a declaration to the world and to myself that my well-being mattered. Professional life also demanded its share of boundary tending. For too long, I equated success with overwork and approval from others. Drawing the line between dedication and exploitation was a delicate dance. I began to communicate my limits clearly, negotiating deadlines and workloads to avoid burnout. It was a gamble, risking being seen as less than committed, but it paid off. My work quality improved, and respect from peers and supervisors grew. Each day is a reminder that boundaries are not barricades, but permeable lines that protect the integrity of our core. It is an ongoing process of refining, adjusting, and sometimes defending those lines. But with each boundary honored, I reclaim a piece of myself. And in that reclamation, I find strength, peace, and an unwavering sense of self-respect. Honoring interconnectedness and compassion. The moment I first began to grasp the concept of interconnectedness, I felt like I had suddenly tuned into a long-forgotten, yet familiar frequency. It was as if the world around me became more vivid, more vibrant. The daily encounters that once seemed isolated and random revealed themselves as the intricate threads of a vast, interwoven tapestry. The slightest breeze, the rustling leaves, the myriad faces I passed on the street, they all started to tell a story of connection, dependency, and intertwined fates. This profound realization didn't just change how I viewed the world, it transformed how I existed within it. At the heart of this interconnectedness lies compassion, a quality that I once believed was a mere side note in the grand narrative of life. Little did I know, it was the keystone. Out of all the lessons that came my way, learning to genuinely cultivate compassion towards myself and others became the most transformative. It wasn't an easy path. Compassion demanded vulnerability, patience, and a willingness to plunge into the depths of another's experience. It invited me to see through eyes, not my own, and feel with a heart that beat in another's chest. I recall a particularly defining moment, a conversation with a once estranged friend. We had drifted apart, caught in the riptide of misunderstandings and unresolved grievances. With a knot in my stomach and a heavy heart, I reached out. As we talked, it became clear that our disconnect stemmed from wounds neither of us had acknowledged, let alone healed. The act of listening, truly listening, cracked open the door to compassion. Walls built from years of silence began to crumble. We didn't need grand gestures or eloquent apologies. We needed the simple, profound act of understanding each other's pain and allowing our hearts to soften. This unfolding led me to wonder about the ripples of compassion beyond individual relationships. What if every action, every decision, was a thread that wove into someone else's story? What if our acts of kindness, no matter how small, could ripple through the tapestry, touching lives we've never met? Such musings became my daily meditation, each day an opportunity to test this newfound wisdom. A remarkable example came unexpectedly. One rainy afternoon, I was running late, anxiety gnawing at my insides. As I hurried past a small park, I noticed an elderly woman struggling to shield herself from the downpour. My initial instinct was to keep walking. The old me, driven by the urgent demands of my own life, would have done just that. But something held me back. Remembering the principle of interconnectedness, I stopped, offered her my umbrella, and walked her to her destination. The gratitude in her eyes, the way her face lit up, it was a simple act, but profoundly moving. In that shared moment, we were deeply connected. Her relief became my joy. The more I embraced this interconnectedness, the more I noticed the subtle but powerful change in my relationships. Friends and family, once distant threads in my life's tapestry, began to feel like integral parts of a greater whole. Misunderstandings were easier to navigate. Empathy became our common language. And in this contiguous web of life, each of us became an essential node, equally dependent on and crucial to the well-being of others. As these realizations settled, I began to see the world with new eyes. Every encounter, no matter how fleeting, bore the potential to enrich and deepen the collective human experience. In the interconnectedness that bound us, compassion emerged not merely as a virtue, but as the invisible force stitching our lives together. Such an understanding didn't just change me, it allowed me to contribute to the ever-growing tapestry of existence in ways small and profound. Reflecting on this journey, I felt both humbled and empowered. The simple truth illuminated my path. By honoring our interconnectedness and cultivating compassion, we weave a stronger, more resilient fabric that holds us all. In such a world, no act of kindness is insignificant, no gesture of empathy wasted. Each thread, each life, becomes a testament to the boundless possibilities born of unity and love. And in navigating our shared existence with this awareness, we find not only our individual purposes, but the deeper meaning that binds us all. Chapter 10. Wholeness and Wellness in Daily Life. Creating Sacred Rituals and Daily Practices. In the whirlwind of modern life, it's all too easy to lose touch with the essence of our being, and in turn, with the universe around us. What changed for me was the realization that sacredness doesn't have to be found solely in grand rituals or momentous occasions. It can be woven into the very fabric of our daily existence. Awakening to this truth was the spark that ignited my journey toward creating sacred rituals and practices. Each morning, my day begins before the sun has yet graced the horizon. I rise, creating space for silence before the cacophony of daily life ensues. The soft glow of a single candle guides me to my meditation corner, a small sanctuary adorned with tokens of nature and items of personal significance. Here, in the hushed stillness, I practice mindful breathing, each inhale connecting me with life's ebb and flow, each exhale releasing the weight of yesterday's concerns. After my meditation, I transition to a simple yet profoundly grounding practice, making tea. The process is artful and deliberate. I measure the tea leaves, pour the hot water, and watch as the liquid transforms. As I sip, I focus entirely on the experience, the warmth of the cup, the intricate flavors awakening my palate. The tea ritual is my daily homage to simplicity and presence. Throughout the day, I integrate moments of mindfulness. Whether it's a brief pause to appreciate the intricate patterns on a fallen leaf, or a slow, intentional walk through the park, I remain anchored in the present. These instances are not interruptions, but rather, they are stitches in the tapestry of my existence, binding me closer to the world around me. Even in mundane tasks, sacredness can be found. When I cook meals, I do so with reverence for each ingredient, acknowledging the journey it made to my table. As I chop, mix, and stir, I infuse the food with my intentions, be it gratitude, love, or healing, knowing that what I put in will nourish my body and spirit. As twilight descends, my ritual of reflection begins. With journal in hand, I settle into my favorite chair. Here, I recount the day's events, not in terms of achievements or failures, but as a narrative of experiences and lessons. This nightly practice allows me to release the day's tensions and to acknowledge my growth, no matter how incremental. These rituals and practices are more than mere routines. They are my sacred dialogue with the universe. They remind me that every moment is imbued with significance, that life itself is a ceremony to be honored. They foster a deeper connection with myself and the ever-expanding cosmos, revealing the extraordinary within the ordinary. One evening, amidst the flicker of candles, a sudden realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. My rituals had not only anchored me, but had begun to transform my very being. I felt a sense of alignment that I had never experienced before. It was as if the universe whispered secrets through the rustling leaves and glistening stars. As my pen glided across the journal's pages, I knew that this journey was leading me to an unveiling, a profound revelation that was yet to be fully understood, but whose presence was undeniable. Living in alignment with your core values. The journey to discovering my core values was neither straightforward nor handed to me on a silver platter. It was a path layered with self-reflection, peppered with moments of doubt, and illuminated by the flickering light of clarity. I remember the day I sat by the lakeside. Leaves fluttered down like forgotten promises, and it was there, amidst nature's whispers, that I felt a longing to understand what truly mattered to me. It's not that my life was unfulfilling or devoid of success. I had stable relationships, a flourishing career, and a lifestyle many envied. Yet, there persisted an unnameable void, a subtle dissonance humming beneath the surface of my daily existence. Was I living according to my own script, or was I merely an actor reciting lines others had penned? One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, I turned inward. I asked myself simple yet profoundly uncomfortable questions. What do I stand for? What intrinsically fuels my spirit? It was distressing at first, the realization that I wasn't entirely sure. But this discomfort was the first step to alignment, a necessary fracture in my constructed identity. Over weeks, I distilled my life experiences, examining moments of joy, sorrow, pride, and regret. Patterns began to emerge: honesty, creativity, connection, and growth. Each of these values resonated deeply within me, like long-lost fragments of my soul finally unearthed. The fog of uncertainty slowly lifted, replaced by a burgeoning sense of who I was meant to be. With clarity came the imperative to act. It wasn't enough to recognize my core values. I needed to breathe life into them, to align my daily choices and overarching goals with this newfound understanding. This involved difficult decisions and courageous changes. I started saying no to projects that didn't align with my creative spirit, and yes to opportunities that nurtured my need for growth. There were obstacles, of course. Confronting my fears felt akin to walking a tightrope over an abyss. Friends and colleagues questioned my sudden pivot, viewing it as a departure from my previously stable path. Yet each step I took in alignment with my values cemented my sense of purpose, lending me an unshakable foundation that external approval could never provide. One pivotal moment stands out, a confrontation with an old friend who couldn't understand my transformation. Our heated exchange tested my commitment to honesty and connection. The rupture in our relationship was painful but necessary, a testament to my unwavering alignment with my core values. Letting go of what no longer serves you is as integral to this journey as embracing what does. Living in alignment with my core values hasn't eliminated life's inevitable hardships, but it has profoundly shifted my perspective. Challenges are now viewed as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. Each day, I am anchored by a sense of purpose, navigating my life with the confidence that I am living truthfully and fully. As I sit here reflecting, I realize the immense clarity and fulfillment this practice has wrought. The process is ongoing, a lifelong commitment to understanding and embodying my true self. This path of alignment is available to anyone willing to embark on it. The destination isn't perfection, but authenticity, a journey towards a life coherent with one's deepest values, one step at a time. The power of intention and manifestation. It all began with a single thought, a whisper of possibility that tiptoed into my mind and settled there, growing roots. I had heard of the power of intention and manifestation, how focusing one's mind and heart on a desired outcome could bring it to fruition. Skeptical but curious, I decided to give it a try. After all, what did I have to lose? Setting an intention felt like planting a seed. I chose something small to begin with, a parking spot close to my office building. I closed my eyes and pictured it clearly, right down to the ray of sunlight illuminating the empty space. I breathed life into the image, sent a silent wish into the universe, then let it go. The next morning, as I turned the corner to my usual parking area, there it was, an open spot right by the entrance. It felt like magic, but part of me knew it was something more. Encouraged, I started incorporating intentions into different areas of my life. I visualized my days flowing smoothly, with tasks completed effortlessly and interactions steeped in kindness. To my amazement, life began to reflect these internal changes. I found myself finishing projects ahead of schedule and meeting kind-hearted, helpful people wherever I went. My stress levels diminished, replaced by a quiet, confident calm. Several months later, I decided to test the waters with a bigger intention. One of my deepest desires was to publish a novel. I wrote down my intention in vivid detail, describing the feeling of holding my finished book and seeing it on the shelves of a bookstore. I allowed myself to truly feel the joy and pride this achievement would bring. Then, I took inspired actions, writing regularly, attending writing workshops, and networking with published authors. It didn't happen overnight, but little by little, the universe began to conspire in my favor. An unexpected email from a literary agent, positive feedback from a writing contest, and eventually, a publishing deal. The day I held my first book in my hands, I knew that the seeds I had planted through intention and manifestation had finally borne fruit. The power of intention transformed my life in ways I had never imagined. By aligning my thoughts, emotions, and actions with my deepest desires, I opened up a pathway for them to manifest in reality. It's as though the universe listens intently to our heart's true desires and responds in kind, weaving them into the fabric of our existence. As I continued to practice this art, I realized that intention and manifestation are not about mere wishful thinking. They require a sincere belief in oneself, a clear vision, and the willingness to take meaningful steps toward that vision. Doubts and setbacks will surface, but holding steadfast to your intention and trusting in the process can lead to extraordinary outcomes. As I sit here reflecting on my journey, I am filled with gratitude. The power of intention and manifestation has not just been a tool, but a guiding principle, a reminder that we are active creators in our lives. Each of us holds the power to shape our reality, to manifest our dreams into tangible, living moments. And that, I believe, is the true magic of living. But just as I had settled into this newfound harmony, life presented a challenge that would test my beliefs to their very core. Unbeknownst to me, a storm was brewing on the horizon. ready to shatter my calm and push the boundaries of everything I thought I knew about the power of intention and manifestation. It was a lesson I would never forget, a journey from which there would be no turning back. Chapter 11: The Interplay of Lifestyle and Well-Being. Balancing work, play, and rest. Finding balance has been a labyrinthine journey, rich with both enlightening epiphanies and woeful missteps. It began with a gnawing strain, a sense that my life was becoming a parade of endless responsibilities. Work consumed me, leaving scarce space for serenity or play. My mornings were a blur of deadlines, emails, and meetings, an incessant whirlpool that sucked away my vitality. But in the midst of this relentless cycle, a whisper suggested, pause. It was an instinct buried beneath layers of obligation and ambition. This whisper became a lifeline, urging me to carve out moments for myself. At first, it felt frivolous to indulge in activities that bore no immediate fruit. But gradually, I realized that these small pockets of joy were not distractions. They were essential threads in the tapestry of a fulfilling life. So began my steadfast quest for equilibrium. I experimented with various strategies. Setting boundaries became my first fortress. I learned to shield my time, ensuring that not all hours were surrendered to work. I allocated my mornings for the most demanding tasks when my mind was sharpest, and reserved afternoons for creative projects that invigorated my spirit. The evenings blossomed into a sanctuary for relaxation and human connection. Simultaneously, I ventured into the realm of play. Initially, this felt foreign, almost like trespassing on hallowed ground. But as I immersed myself in hobbies, learning guitar, painting abstracts, it became clear that play was not wasted time. It rejuvenated my soul, offering reprieve from the incessant grind. I discovered that these playful pursuits often sparked innovative ideas for my professional endeavors. Rest was the third pillar. Embracing rest was perhaps the most challenging. Sleep was no longer a negotiable commodity, but a non-negotiable necessity. Quality rest became a sacred ritual. I invested in creating a serene bedroom environment, free from the electronic distractions that once haunted my nocturnal hours. I explored meditation, breathing exercises, and moonlit walks to lull my overactive mind into peaceful slumber. What astounded me was the symbiosis of these elements. The more I practiced this trinity of work, play, and rest, the more each aspect seemed to nourish and complement the others. Work became more productive because I was well rested and my mind was invigorated from play. My moments of play were more enjoyable, knowing they were well earned through productive work and full rest. And rest was deeper, knowing I had balanced my responsibilities and tended to my personal joys. Yet, the journey is ongoing. Perfection is an illusion, a mirage that continually retreats as you approach it. Life's balance is an ever-evolving dance with rhythms that shift and sway. I remind myself to be patient, to listen to my inner needs, and to adjust as circumstances change. The cadence of work, play, and rest is not static. It is a dynamic flow, responsive to the tides of life's demands and gifts. Amidst this journey, I have come to cherish the beauty of imperfection. Balancing life's triad is less about mastering a formula and more about attuning to oneself with empathy and grace. It is about recognizing that balance is found not in perfection, but in the persistent endeavor to live fully, where work fuels passion, play stirs creativity, and rest restores the spirit. As I continue to navigate this path, there lingers a magnetic sense of anticipation. Beyond each day's horizon lies the promise of newfound harmony, waiting to embrace me in its tender, transformational embrace. I am learning to trust that the imperfect yet sincere quest for balance will lead to a life not just lived, but profoundly savored. Creating a harmonious home environment. As I sit in my favorite armchair, a sense of peace envelops me. The soft hum of the air purifier, the faint aroma of lavender, and the gentle lighting create an atmosphere that whispers of tranquility. This didn't happen overnight. Creating a home that fosters holistic healing and harmony is a labor of love and mindfulness. Let me share my journey and some tips that might help you create such an oasis. One of the first steps I took was to declutter. It sounds simple, but it's profound. Clutter doesn't just occupy physical space, it takes up emotional space too. I remember the relief I felt as I donated old clothes, books, and knickknacks to charity. With every item that left my home, I felt lighter, almost as if a burden I didn't know I was carrying had been lifted. My living room, once crowded with stuff, became a serene space with only the essentials, allowing me to breathe easily. Less truly became more. Next came the integration of natural elements. I have always been drawn to nature, and bringing elements of it into my living space was a game changer. Houseplants, for instance, purify the air and add a touch of green that soothes the eyes. I started with a few easy-to-care-for plants like snake plants and pothos, and gradually, my home turned into a green sanctuary. Watching these plants thrive gave me a sense of accomplishment and connected me with the natural world outside my walls. There's something incredibly grounding about having living, breathing greenery in my home. The choice of colors also played a crucial role. I opted for a color palette that resonates with calm and comfort. Soft blues, muted greens, and warm neutrals replaced the chaos of mismatched colors. Each room has its own subtle theme, but the overall coherence is what makes the home feel so harmonious. I remember the first evening I sat in my newly painted living room, a soft blue hue enveloping the space. It felt like a gentle embrace. The change in color took the edge off my daily stress, almost as if the walls themselves were cocooning me with their soft, serene shades. Another essential aspect is the use of scents. Aromatherapy has been a wonderful discovery. I set up a diffuser and experimented with different essential oils. Lavender for relaxation, eucalyptus for clarity, and citrus for a burst of energy. The subtle presence of these scents transformed the atmosphere. I vividly remember the first time I tried lavender oil in my diffuser. It filled the room with a calming fragrance that helped me unwind at the end of a long day. Sound is often overlooked, but it's incredibly influential. I curated a playlist of gentle, instrumental music that plays softly in the background as I move through my house. On days when I need more focus or relaxation, I switch to nature sounds, rainfall, ocean waves, or forest ambience. One evening, after a particularly stressful day, I played a track of gentle rain and took deep breaths, the sound of water easing my tension. It is these small, intentional choices that make a world of difference. Lighting is equally crucial in creating a harmonious environment. Natural light is best, so I make sure to open my curtains wide each morning. For the evenings, I prefer warm-toned lights, lamps with soft yellow bulbs that mimic the glow of candlelight. I used to have harsh, bright lights that left me feeling on edge, but switching to softer lighting created an inviting, cozy atmosphere. I recall one winter evening, reading a book under the warm glow of my new lamp. It made the cold outside seem worlds away. Personal touches make the space genuinely ours. Family photos, travel souvenirs, and handmade crafts are scattered around my home. Each item carries a story, a memory that brings joy and warmth. For instance, a hand-woven blanket from a trip to Peru draped over the couch reminds me of the vibrant culture and beautiful landscapes I experienced. These personal items create a sense of belonging, a connection to my past and the people I love. The true essence of a harmonious home doesn't lie in material possessions, but in the energy and intention behind them. It's about creating a space where each object, scent, sound, and color contributes to your well-being. As I look around my home now, I feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This space is a reflection of my journey towards inner peace and holistic healing, nourishing the soul through creative expression. I've always found solace in creative expression. It has been my sanctuary, my way of navigating through the labyrinth of life. There's something incredibly liberating about transferring your thoughts, emotions, and deepest secrets onto a canvas, whether it be a blank page, a stretch of cloth, or the open air vibrating with your music. Creativity isn't just about making something beautiful, it's about making something meaningful. Among my earliest memories is the smell of chalk and the feel of it dragging on the sidewalk as I created elaborate imaginary worlds. Drawing was not just a pastime, it was therapy before I knew what therapy was. Years later, the medium changed, but the effect remained constant. Painting became a form of meditation, each stroke a breath that quieted the turmoil within. Writing, too, has been a loyal companion. I began journaling in my teenage years when spoken words often fell short. The blank pages listened without judgment. Over time, those journals turned into stories, stories that allowed me to explore different facets of myself and worlds beyond my own. Writing transformed my scattered thoughts into structured narratives, providing clarity and insight. In turning points of life, when shadows loomed large, my pen became a sword, cutting through the gloom. But it isn't just the visual and literary arts that have nourished my soul. Music, both playing and listening, has been a constant source of comfort. Strumming a guitar or just feeling the keys of a piano under my fingers allowed me to express emotions I couldn't articulate. With every note, I found pieces of myself that I didn't know existed, the rhythms filling gaps in my heart that words couldn't reach. It's not always about creating something grand or perfect. Sometimes it's about the process itself. The joy lies in the journey from the first hesitant brushstroke to the final flourish, from the initial rough draft to the polished story, from the strumming of random chords to the harmony they form. In these moments, I'm not just creating art, I'm creating parts of myself, nurturing a soul that sometimes feels fractured by the rigors of life. And there lies the magic of creative expression. It heals in ways that are subtle yet profound. As I dabble in colors, words, and sounds, I find pieces of my spirit becoming whole again. It's as if creativity serves as a balm, soothing the wounds inflicted by life's many trials. To create is to heal, and in healing, we find nourishment for the soul. Just when I thought I had explored every avenue of this nourishing practice, life decided to surprise me again. It was an unexpected invitation to an art therapy workshop that set the stage for a new chapter in my journey. Walking into that room, filled with strangers yet kindred spirits, I felt an electric anticipation. It was another chance to delve deeper, to discover new forms of creative expression that awaited just beyond the horizon. Little did I know, this new experience would soon reveal a transformative power that left me forever changed. Chapter 12. The Path to Self-Discovery and Personal Growth. Exploring your dreams and inner symbolism. They say dreams are windows to the soul, a glimpse into our deeper selves where conscious filters are lifted and raw, unfiltered emotions come alive. The surreal world of dreams has always fascinated me, serving as a compelling narrative filled with symbolism waiting to be deciphered. Each morning as I wake, the fragments of my nocturnal adventures anxiously beg to be pieced together, like an intricate mosaic of my subconscious mind. It started with a recurring dream I had as a child, a labyrinthine forest where I wandered aimlessly, unable to find my way out. Each twist and turn in that forest seemed to echo deeper emotional turmoil I didn't quite understand. For years, the forest haunted me until one day, a friend suggested keeping a dream journal. At first, I was skeptical. How could jotting down these cryptic images possibly help me? But as I began to scribble down each scene, character, and feeling, I realized these elements held more significance than I gave them credit for. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. The forest symbolized my feelings of being trapped and lost in real life, anxiety that stemmed from unmet expectations and life changes I had no control over. Realizing this, a part of the burden lifted. It was as though my subconscious mind had been throwing me clues all along, urging me to confront these gnawing uncertainties. More importantly, it was a call to address and heal. Understanding the symbolism in my dreams became a therapeutic journey, one that made me more attuned to my inner self. One night, I dreamt of soaring high above the clouds. The sensation of freedom and weightlessness contrasted sharply with the haunting forest of my earlier dreams. It felt like a breakthrough, a signal that I was finally overcoming the internal struggles that once held me back. I began to view my dreams not as random, chaotic scenarios, but as guided narratives, revealing and reshaping my emotional landscape. Yet the stories in my dreams didn't just stop at self-healing. They also became a means of creativity, an endless well of inspiration. Worlds crafted within my imagination bled into my waking life, influencing my art, my writing, even solving practical problems with newfound creativity. Instead of shunning the illogical and irrational aspects of my dreams, I embraced them, letting them flow through and enrich every facet of my life. But the journey didn't end there. Understanding dreams became an ongoing dialogue with my inner self, a dance of symbols and meanings that continues to evolve. Each night brings a new chapter, a new opportunity to delve deeper into the realms of my psyche. I now greet my dreams with curiosity rather than fear, ready to explore whatever my subconscious wishes to reveal. Dreams, once an enigma, have become a powerful tool for self-awareness and transformation. As I stand at the threshold of this uncharted territory, I can't help but feel a rush of excitement. What further depths of my soul are there left to discover? What other hidden message or unspoken truth awaits me in the next dream? The answers, I believe, lie just beyond the horizon of slumber, in the kaleidoscope of images and symbols woven by the complex tapestry of the mind. And as I drift into sleep each night, I am both the seeker and the guide, navigating through the mystic world of dreams. Embracing change and transformation. Change can be a daunting specter, lurking at the edges of our everyday comforts and routines. It's the thing we know exists, yet often wish it didn't. It has a way of creeping up on us when we least expect it, demanding our attention and compelling us to adapt. For the longest time, I resisted change with every fiber of my being, clinging to familiarity as if it were a life raft in a stormy sea. Little did I know, that very storm was an invitation to growth. I remember the first significant change I confronted as though it were yesterday. My job, which had once felt like a perfect fit, had become a monotonous grind. It was a slow realization, but one that came crashing down on me like a tidal wave. I had spent years honing my skills and climbing the corporate ladder, only to find myself at a precipice, staring into an abyss of dissatisfaction. The decision to leave was not easy. It felt like tearing away a part of myself that had grown comfortable in its identity. Yet, as I stepped into the unknown, something magical began to unfold. The fear that had gripped me so tightly started to loosen its hold. I discovered a strength within, a resilience that I hadn't known existed. Each day brought a new challenge, and with it, an opportunity to learn and grow. The initial trepidation gave way to excitement as new experiences began to paint my world in colors I had never imagined. I found beauty in the uncertainty, a raw and unfiltered view of life that was both terrifying and exhilarating. One of the most profound transformations came in the form of relationships. As I navigated this new chapter, I met people who inspired me, challenged me, and supported me in ways I could not have foreseen. These connections became a testament to the idea that we are not solitary beings, but rather interconnected souls on a shared journey. The transformation was not just in my career or external circumstances, but within myself. I began to see the world through a lens of possibility, where every change was an opportunity for growth and discovery. Now, as I reflect on these experiences, I understand that embracing change is not about relinquishing control, but about shifting our perspective. It's about recognizing that transformation, while often uncomfortable, is a natural and essential part of life. The beauty found in this process is in the endless potential for reinvention and renewal. It's in the moments when we break free from our self-imposed limitations and step into our true potential. And so, I continue to welcome transformation, with arms wide open and heart ready to embrace whatever comes next. The journey is far from over, and change will always be a constant companion. But instead of fearing it, I have learned to see it as a friend, guiding me towards new horizons and uncharted territories. Together we move forward, ever evolving, ever growing, and forever discovering the boundless beauty of a life in flux. Tapping into your inner wisdom and intuition, I often find myself in moments of doubt, standing on the precipice of decision, peering into the vast chasm of unknown. There are times when the outside world is so loud, it drowns out my inner voice, leaving me adrift and uncertain. But I've come to realize there's a potent, unfaltering wisdom within. Tapping into it has been one of the most empowering experiences of my life. The journey wasn't instantaneous. It was gradual, like peeling away layers of an onion to find the core. I began by simply taking moments out of my day to sit in stillness, to breathe and listen, not to the clamoring noise of the world, but to the soft whispers of my own heart. Meditation became my companion, a gateway to that internal sanctuary of intuition. One particular evening, I decided to face a dilemma that had been weighing on my mind for weeks. I sat down in my favorite corner of the living room, the twilight casting gentle shadows on the walls, and I closed my eyes. As I inhaled deeply, I felt a sense of calm wash over me, a tacit promise from my inner self to guide me. In that quiet, I asked myself the questions I had been too fearful to confront. And then, instead of seeking answers in logic and rationality, I focused on the sensations in my body. I noticed how my chest tightened with anxiety when considering one option, and how another possibility filled me with a surprising sense of lightness. It wasn't immediate, but the clarity began to surface from somewhere deep within. Over time, I developed a series of practices to hone this skill, simple yet profound exercises that anyone can integrate into their daily lives. Journaling became a powerful tool. Every morning, I would write without censoring my thoughts. This stream of consciousness helped uncover truths and patterns I hadn't previously noticed. Another practice involved grounding myself in nature, walking barefoot on the grass, and feeling connected to the earth beneath my feet. Each step seemed to awaken a primal knowing within me. Then, there were the moments of synchronicity that I no longer dismissed as mere coincidences. A song on the radio, a snippet of conversation overheard, or a book that fell open to a particular page, all began to serve as signposts, guiding me along my path. The more I acknowledged these signs, the more frequently they appeared, weaving a tapestry of interconnectedness that was both mystifying and reassuring. As I delved deeper, I realized that intuition is not some mystical force accessible to a few. It is an inherent faculty within all of us, waiting to be awakened. Trusting it became not just a practice, but a way of life. And in return, it rewarded me with a sense of alignment and purpose that no external validation could ever provide. One day, when faced with a particularly challenging decision, I remembered a lesson from my journey. Sometimes, the answers we seek are already within us, simply waiting for us to be still enough to hear. I quieted my mind and posed the question inwardly. As silence enveloped me, I felt an inexplicable calm, a knowing that gently whispered the direction I needed to take. Learning to trust my inner wisdom has transformed my approach to life. It's as if I've discovered a compass that, although invisible, always points true north. This chapter isn't just about my experience. It's a call to you, dear reader, to embark on your own journey inward. Trust that within you lies a reservoir of wisdom, ready to guide you through every challenge and joy. Begin today, and you'll find that the answers you seek are closer than you ever imagined. Chapter 13. Honoring the Sacredness of Life, Living in Harmony with Nature and the Earth. As I stepped into the dense forest, a sense of peace and serenity wrapped around me like a cozy blanket. The tall, ancient trees seemed to whisper secrets of old in the gentle breeze. Each leaf, each blade of grass underfoot seemed to pulse with life. This was my sanctuary, my escape from the bustling urban chaos. Here I felt a connection that was both primal and profound. Living in sync with nature wasn't always my forte. For years, I had been imprisoned by the concrete jungles, where the only greenery came in the form of small, ornamental plants or the occasional park. But a chance encounter with an old friend who thrived in the wilderness changed my perspective. He spoke of the harmony he found in nature, of mornings greeted by the songs of birds, and nights embraced by the soft hum of crickets. Intrigued and longing for a similar balance, I decided to immerse myself in this world. The first few days were challenging. My body resisted the hard ground. My ears were too attuned to the cacophony of urban life to appreciate nature's symphony, but perseverance bore fruit. Slowly, my senses sharpened. I began to appreciate the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a hawk, the babble of a brook. My body adjusted, becoming stronger, more resilient. In return, I felt a growing sense of well-being and vitality that no city gym or wellness retreat had ever provided. As the days turned into weeks, my relationship with nature deepened. I learned to read the signs of weather in the patterns of clouds, to identify plants and their myriad uses. My diet became rich with foraged fruits, nuts, and herbs, each meal a testament to the bounty of the earth. This synergy extended beyond the physical. There was an emotional and spiritual enrichment as well. My troubles seemed to melt away in the vast, intricate web of life. Yet, what struck me the most was the profound silence I found within myself. The never-ending internal monologue, the stress and anxiety that had plagued me for years, were replaced by a calm, collected mind. It was as if the earth had absorbed my worries and replaced them with its age-old wisdom. I found myself more present, more aware, and surprisingly, more compassionate towards all living beings. One evening, as I watched the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, I felt an inexplicable connection to everything around me. This wasn't merely about surviving in nature, it was about thriving with it. This harmony, this symbiosis, was something we'd lost in our quest for modernity. And in finding it again, I realized how vital it was for our overall well-being. The wind picked up, and I could smell the approaching rain. It felt like a gentle reminder from nature, a promise of renewal and growth. I closed my eyes, letting the wind caress my face, feeling grounded and free simultaneously. Here, in this sacred space shared with countless other life forms, I had discovered a profound truth. Living in harmony with nature wasn't just an option, it was essential for a life truly lived. The ethics of mindful living and sustainability. As I sip my morning coffee, I often find myself reflecting on the myriad choices that color my everyday life. These decisions, though seemingly insignificant in isolation, contribute collectively to something much larger than myself. This continuous thread, weaving through every aspect of my existence, is the ethical practice of mindful living and sustainability. It dawned on me one chilly autumn morning, the sort where the leaves rustle crisply underfoot and the air tastes of the earth reclaiming her own. That was the day I decided to make a real change. It began with the small things, opting for reusable bags over plastic ones, and choosing locally grown produce rather than imported fruits and vegetables that bore the mark of extensive carbon footprints. I had always been moderately eco-conscious, but this time, the intention became deliberate, almost ritualistic. Somehow, linking my sense of self with the greater ecosystem ignited a profound shift in my perspective. Even the mundane act of grocery shopping transformed into a meticulous dance of ethical considerations. Every item scrutinized for its origins, every brand evaluated for its environmental stance. It was enlightening and, admittedly, a bit overwhelming. The organic cotton t-shirt costs a bit more, but knowing it supports sustainable farming practices makes the decision easier. Ethical choices, I realized, often come with a higher price tag, but the true cost of inaction would be far greater. At home, the changes deepened. I started composting kitchen waste, converting scraps into nutrient-rich soil to nourish my modest garden. Solar panels, once a distant dream, found their place on my roof, testament to my commitment to reducing dependency on fossil fuels. Even the insulation of my home underwent a green overhaul, ensuring that energy efficiency became a cornerstone of my living space. Yet, amid these steps forward, contradictions often surfaced. The ethical considerations weren't always clear-cut. Was it better to buy a locally made product with unsustainable packaging or an imported one wrapped in eco-friendly materials? How far did the ethical ramifications stretch? It was a labyrinthine puzzle where every piece held significance. Engaging in conversations with like-minded individuals revealed that I was not alone in these contemplations. Friends and strangers alike grappled with the same dilemmas, shaping a community bound by mutual respect for the planet. It was here, nestled within the arms of shared humanity, that I found both solace and strength. One particular evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a palette of warm hues across the sky, I realized the essence of my journey. This was not merely about personal gratification or vanity, but a deeply ethical stance. Every action, every decision was a thread in the intricate tapestry of the world I wished to leave behind. Each thread symbolized respect for life, not just mine, but that of every being sharing this wondrous planet. The tension, however, mounted as I became acutely aware of the ever-looming threats against our environment. News of habitat destruction, climate change, and the relentless consumption of resources served as chilling reminders of what was at stake. This awareness spurred me into action, propelling me to not only live mindfully, but to advocate for broader systemic change. The urgency in my heart grew, the ethical considerations now holistically encompassing not just personal actions, but also a fervent push for societal transformation. It became clear, this journey was far from over, fraught with challenges, yet ripe with purpose. Celebrating the beauty and wonder of life. As I flung open the curtains this morning, the first rays of sunlight painted an intricate pattern on my kitchen floor. While the coffee simmered in the pot, I stood entranced by the delicate interplay of shadows and light. In that simple moment, I was reminded of the profound beauty woven into the fabric of our everyday lives. It's easy to miss these brief marvels when we rush from one task to the next, but I've learned to pause, breathe, and let such instances imprint themselves in my memory. Consider the first sip of coffee on a chilly morning. Warm, invigorating, a small pleasure that stitches sanity into the chaotic tapestry of the day. These ordinary moments, when acknowledged, become celebrations of life's simplest yet profound joys. It's in these small wonders, the dance of sunlight, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, that I find a sense of connection with the world, a reminder of the beauty that often goes unnoticed. Then there are the grander spectacles that suspend time itself. Last weekend, I stood at the edge of a rolling meadow as the sun dipped below the horizon, its dying rays splashing the sky with hues of orange and violet. As I soaked in the panoramic beauty, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. It's not just about the view, it's about how such grandeur allows you to feel both insignificant and sublime. But for me, the ultimate marvel lies in human connection. The shared laughter over a silly joke, the warmth of a friend's embrace, or even a stranger's smile that brightens a gloomy day. These interactions are the very essence of life. They remind me that while the world is vast and often overwhelming, it's the bonds we form that tether us, giving us a sense of belonging. Yet this mindset shift didn't come naturally. I've had to train myself, day by day, to celebrate these moments. Much like tending to a garden, it requires patience and commitment. Initially, it felt forced, but with time, appreciation became second nature. It's as if my senses were sharpening, allowing me to perceive layers of richness I hadn't noticed before. Imagine sailing in a sea of wonder, every small wave a celebration, every large swell a jubilant festivity. This is what life feels like now, and I've realized that it's never too late to start. Whether it's the song of a bird at dawn or the exhilarating rush of a spontaneous adventure, I find myself constantly marveling at life's tapestry, woven with threads of both ordinary moments and extraordinary experiences. However, not every day bursts with vivid colors. Some mornings are gray and some evenings lonely. Yet even in those times, I find solace in knowing that the mere act of being alive is itself a celebration. Embracing this mindset has not only enriched my existence, but has also deepened my connections with the world, others, and myself. As I settle into bed each night, I reflect on these wondrous moments, both big and small, that filled my day. They might not always be grand or notable, but they are mine to cherish. This celebration of life, I've come to learn, is the purest form of gratitude, a simple yet profound acknowledgement of the world's boundless beauty and wonder. Chapter 14. Embracing the Journey of Holistic Healing. Finding meaning and purpose in your healing path. In the quiet moments of my healing journey, I often found myself questioning the very purpose of the path I was on. It was during these contemplative nights, when the world seemed to put a pause on its chaos, that I truly began to understand the depths of my wounds and the potential for my own transformation. Initially, my steps were uncertain and my vision clouded by the pain of the past. But as I moved forward, each step seemed to peel back the layers of my suffering, revealing something extraordinary underneath, a raw, unfiltered sense of purpose. One of the most profound strategies that helped me navigate this journey was finding a way to anchor my healing in meaning. It wasn't enough to just survive. I wanted to thrive. I started to view my wounds not as mere scars, but as symbols of my strength and resilience. For example, journaling became a meditative practice that allowed me to capture my thoughts, fears, and the incremental victories I achieved each day. It wasn't just about documenting my pain, it was about acknowledging my growth. The more I wrote, the clearer it became that my story, in all its twists and turns, had the power to inspire and connect with others. Another strategy that illuminated my path was engaging in conversations with those who had walked similar roads. These exchanges were more than just words. They were shared experiences that offered validation and hope. I remember one particular conversation with a dear friend who had faced their own battles. Their candidness about their struggles and triumphs provided me with a sense of solidarity and an understanding that I wasn't alone. These dialogues nurtured a community spirit, emphasizing the idea that while our journeys are uniquely personal, the support we find in others is universal. As I continued to explore these avenues, I discovered the profound power of empathy and service. By shifting some of my focus towards others who were struggling, I found a new dimension of purpose. Volunteering, whether through support groups or local shelters, opened my heart in ways I hadn't anticipated. It was in these moments of giving that I felt a resurgence of energy and motivation. Helping others allowed me to step outside my own pain and see the broader tapestry of human experience. It was this interconnectedness that truly added a deeper meaning to my healing journey. There were times, of course, when doubt would creep back in. Healing is rarely a linear path, and the setbacks tested my resolve more than once. Yet, it was in these moments of despair that I leaned most heavily on the purpose I had discovered. I reminded myself that each setback was not a step backward, but a pause in a longer, more meaningful journey. Reflecting on my progress, no matter how small, helped me reignite the flame of purpose that had guided me thus far. As I reflect on this journey, I realize that finding meaning and purpose in my healing path has been an evolving process. It required patience, introspection, and a willingness to embrace both the light and the dark parts of myself. The strategies I employed, journaling, engaging in meaningful conversations, and dedicating time to service, were not just tools for healing, but also bridges to a more purposeful life. My hope is that by sharing these reflections, others too can find the strength and clarity to navigate their own healing paths, discovering along the way the profound purpose that lies within. Embracing the power of community and support. There was a tangible shift within me the first time I truly felt the embrace of community. As someone who had always prided myself on my independence, the realization that I couldn't navigate the stormy seas of life alone was both humbling and enlightening. It started with a simple gesture, a friend who noticed my wariness and insisted on a coffee chat. That one meeting snowballed into a robust network of support that became my bedrock. As weeks turned into months, I found my life's narrative intertwining with the stories of people around me. In the community center, there were faces I came to know as well as my own. Sarah, who had just gone through a messy divorce, shared with us her fears and small triumphs. Michael, a retired teacher with a penchant for storytelling, brought laughter with his witty anecdotes. Our collective moments of vulnerability forged a bond stronger than any solitude could offer. Cultivating these connections wasn't without its challenges. Trust, after all, is a brittle thing. But through shared experiences and consistent engagement, we began to anchor each other. I started initiating outings, simple nature hikes, potluck dinners, and volunteer projects. The act of giving and receiving, of showing up for someone and having them show up for you, became a cycle of healing in itself. Unexpected crises would test our bonds. There was the night Sarah called, voice trembling, saying she couldn't stay in her home for another second. Without hesitation, the community rallied. By morning, she had a new place to stay and a plan of action. Michael faced health issues, and our small group organized a schedule to ensure he was never alone for doctor visits or recovery stints. In supporting each other, our individual griefs and struggles became more bearable, diluted by the warmth of shared empathy. I recall a particularly poignant evening when we gathered around a bonfire, the flames dancing their age-old dance, shadows flickering on familiar faces. As we shared our fears and dreams, I felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. Community was no longer a concept, it was a living, breathing entity that cradled us all. It was in these moments that I understood the profound truth. We are not meant to bear the weight of our lives alone. Life has a way of testing these connections when you least expect it. One fateful day, a storm, both literal and metaphorical, struck. As the wind howled and trees bent under the pressure, it became a test of our communal strength. Power lines down, homes damaged, and spirits dampened, we realized the challenges ahead. Yet amidst the chaos, a spark of hope remained. We had faced trials before, and this time we were ready to face the tempest as one, honoring the interconnectedness of all beings. As I sit by the window, watching the soft rain patter against the leaves, I can't help but think of how each drop joins the earth in a seamless dance of unity. This moment, delicate and ephemeral, speaks to a deeper wisdom that ties all beings together. It's in these quiet reflections that I've discovered the profound interconnectedness of life, a web so intricate that even the smallest vibration can be felt throughout. One evening, I found myself on a solitary hike through an ancient forest. The towering trees, their gnarled branches stretching skyward, seemed to whisper secrets of eras past. I walked deliberately, mindful of each step, understanding that the earth beneath my feet was home to countless unseen lives. It was in this mindful awareness that I felt a deep sense of kinship with the forest. Each rustling leaf, each scurrying animal, felt like an integral part of a grand, cohesive whole. I've learned that to honor this interconnectedness, one must cultivate practices that foster a sense of unity. Meditation has been my guiding star, a practice that allows me to dive deep within and touch the same essence that flows through all beings. Sitting in silence, following the gentle rhythm of my breath, I've come to realize that we are all part of a shared existence, bound together by a silent, unspoken connection. Another practice that has brought this sense of unity to life is community service. When we extend our hands to help others, we're not just performing acts of kindness, we're acknowledging that their well-being is intricately interwoven with our own. Volunteering at a local shelter, I witnessed how acts of compassion ripple through a community, building bridges of empathy and understanding between individuals who might otherwise remain strangers. As I continued my journey, I began to see signs of this interconnectedness everywhere. In the synchronous flights of birds, the mutual support among trees via underground root systems, and even in the collaborative efforts of a bustling city. Every interaction, every relationship seemed to echo the same truth. We are all in this together. In embracing this perspective, I've come to live with a greater sense of purpose. Each day, I strive to act with the awareness that my choices, however small, affect the larger web of life. Whether it's reducing my ecological footprint, offering a kind word to someone in need, or simply being present and mindful, these actions are my way of honoring the boundless network of connections that define our existence. As I conclude this chapter of my life, I am filled with a profound gratitude for the journey and the lessons it has imparted. I've come to understand that the true essence of living lies not in isolation, but in recognizing and celebrating the interconnectedness of all beings. It is in this shared existence that we find our greatest strength, and it is through this unity that we can forge a better, more harmonious world. Thank you for joining us on this journey through holistic healing, integrating mind, body, and spirit. As we conclude, I hope you found inspiration and practical guidance to integrate holistic practices into your daily life. Remember, the path to holistic healing is not a destination, but a continuous journey of self-discovery, growth, and connection. Embrace the lessons learned here, from the power of self-awareness and the benefits of mindful eating to the profound impact of nature and the healing energy within and around us. Nurture your mind, body, and spirit with compassion, curiosity, and an open heart. Celebrate the small victories, honor your progress, and be gentle with yourself through challenges and setbacks. Holistic healing is about more than just personal well-being. It's about cultivating a deep sense of interconnectedness with all beings and the world around us. As you move forward, carry the wisdom of this journey into your relationships, your community, and your environment. Spread the light of holistic healing and watch it ripple outward, creating a positive impact far beyond yourself. Stay curious, stay mindful, and above all, stay true to your journey. Thank you for allowing Mindful Literary to be part of your path to holistic wellness. Until next time, continue to embrace the infinite possibilities of holistic healing and the beauty of a balanced, harmonious life.